before you know it. And my name is Evan Mendoza. I played 7 years of professional baseball between the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Diego Padres. I was drafted from NC State University, even appeared in the World Baseball Classic representing Team Columbia, and I've helped over 200 players land offers. And recruiting isn't luck. It's really a system. And most parents learn it a little bit too late. So let's talk about problem number one. Your son's training is completely random. He's probably doing like notes app workout programs where he's writing the program kind of based off of YouTube videos, TikTok videos, Instagram videos, whatever the case may be. And his mentality, that's completely neglected. A lot of high school baseball players, and this is really problem number two, you neglect your son's mentality. Of course, making sure that he has those frameworks to overcome the many struggles that I've, of course, faced in the game of baseball. Problem number three is you have no recruiting roadmap, and you can't fix one without the others. And that's why I built the triple play system, built specifically for sophomores and juniors. And let's go over one by one. So physical development, this is training that ultimately will move the needle. We have workout programs written by a New York Mets strength coach, and of course they are baseball specific, but what you guys are doing right now is kind of just a complete scatter, and there's no structure behind it. As far as on the mental development, you have to have daily accountability that builds these habits that pros, of course, have, or that D1 athletes have. As far as on the recruiting strategy, your son learns or ultimately to recruit himself. And most programs give you maybe just like drills, and they kind of do what I refer to as the Band-Aid approach. You can't put a Band-Aid on a leaky pipe because there's going to be a point in time where that leaky pipe, outgrows that Band-Aid. We give you the system. Your son launches recruiting in 14 days, and this isn't a course that you're going to forget. This isn't some cheap PDF or a YouTube video. It's a system he lives inside of. And this is real parents, real players, and real results. Sayori, the mom of Hugo, one of my students from Japan, Coach Evan changed everything for Hugo. Santiago, I'm fired up to work every day. And expanded on that quote, I remember Santiago told me he's excited to do that extra work beyond the team practices. And of course, we need to do that extra work beyond team practices to see that difference. Having you in my corner has been game-changing. That was from Landon from California. And we really have two ways to help our players. Which path depends on really his metrics and where he's currently at in the whole timeline, which is a reason why we need to speak together to just make sure that we map out the correct game plan. Path number one, that's called the triple play. That's what you may have already heard a little bit about. That's done with you. We give you the complete system. Your son executes it kind of like a robot, right? When I transitioned from high school to college, the biggest thing that I saw is we had a strength coach that wrote those programs, and us, the athletes, and this continued, of course, in professional baseball, we, the athletes, are to execute. We are to be robots, quite literally, and do the work that's prescribed to us. So we coach your son through all of that. He learns the recruiting inside and out. That's really going to be perfect for those sophomores building their foundation, sometimes even freshman year as well. The second path, this is going to be a little bit different. So this is going to be the full ride framework, and that's completely done for you. And I personally handle, I personally handle every part of his recruiting campaign. I build all the recruiting assets professionally done. So there's no like messy slobber like what's happening probably right now for you guys. I contact these college coaches directly for you and your son. We're going to be sending out hundreds of emails as your player. So I'm not going to be sending them out by like my email. We're actually going to go ahead and start from the absolute ground up. We're going to create a Gmail together. You will have access. We will have access. And of course, that's going to be how we reach out to these college coaches on your son's behalf. There's going to be live dashboards that track every coach that's been contacted. And really that's going to be perfect for really that junior ready to get recruited now. And of course, you understand that you don't want to be playing your senior season with that weight on your back. This is what makes this one a no-brainer. So if you do not earn a baseball scholarship in 12 months, you get 100% of your money back. And that's because I feel so incredibly confident in everything that we do, and especially the qualified individuals that come to us, right? We're not gonna make this offer for someone that is throwing 32 miles an hour off the mound, right? You have to qualify for us, and again, that is the reason why we need to hop on a Zoom call. And every single penny would be returned back over to you. And of course, we only accept those players with those metrics that make sense. If your son is in the ballpark of any of these metrics, that's good. Of course, we want to get a better understanding of where his mind is at, which we can, again, only do on a Zoom call. And getting him noticed isn't necessarily the hard part from our standpoint. And that's what I do. For those 11th graders with proven physical metrics, that's going to be that full ride framework prerequisite. So that's just something that I want you guys to be completely transparent about, or I want to be completely transparent about you guys. For those sophomores, or maybe you don't meet those metrics, that's totally fine. That's going to be where we build out that foundation from the first place inside the triple play. And that's exactly what that is designed for. We build him up to those metrics so that way recruiting becomes that much easier. Then he's ready for that full ride framework. And are you tired of wasting, money or time on these endless showcases in summer ball, whatever the case may be? This is what the triple play is ultimately for, and for the parents especially. So if you want a real plan for sophomore and junior year of high school, want recruiting handled maybe potentially for you guys completely, where those conversations are delivered to your doorstep. And by the way, guys, I want to make sure that this is very, very clear. This is not for some type of like magic pill or magic button. If you're looking for that magic fix for everything that you've got going on, we are probably not a good fit. Players who don't want to do the work, yes, we're going to give you everything on the recruiting side, especially if we're talking about the full ride framework, but your player or you have to pull in the other end of the bargain. Of course, you need to be doing the correct work that we prescribe to you, so that way those metrics turn into the player that we can easily recruit. Of course, parents who just complain about politics, if you are a parent and you're complaining about playing time, politics, and you think that is the answer or the solution, we need to look at ourselves in the mirror. Because if at the end of the day our ego is hurt based off of these conversations about politics or playing time, we need to look at ourselves in the mirror, ultimately saying to ourselves, or really our player having that conversation, okay, so what can we do about it? And of course, there's a lot to be done if you want to separate yourself from the rest of the competition. So if that is you, again, this is not going to work if you're blaming everything on politics or playing time or, basically daddy ball, whatever the case may be, right? I can't guarantee necessarily a scholarship. And I want to, of course, translate that the best that I can. No one can technically guarantee anything. I can guarantee that I'm going to show up for your son every single day. There is that part of the guarantee because I know what I'm going to be able to hold up on my end, right? But of course, your son's going to have to do the work and, of course, keep that consistency to keep progressing into a D1 caliber talent. But I can guarantee you guys this. Your son will improve his metrics, he will strengthen his mental game, and he will learn how to recruit himself. He'll have a real shot at college baseball, and that's really all we can ask for because of the slim chances of playing college baseball. Of course, if your son is doing the work before even talking to us, as we're talking to each other, and of course, that's going to make the recruiting side that much easier. If this is not a hope, it's a real shot at playing college baseball. There are limited spots available every single month that we work with. So once we're full, and I can't spread my bandwidth any thinner than basically 5 students every month or 2 per quarter. And I'll get into that a little bit more. So here's what's happened next. You can click the button down below this video, fill out that short little application attached to the calendar. And if you're qualified, you can go ahead and schedule your eligibility review. If this is by the way, I just want to translate this very effectively to you guys. This is not information that, we're going to hop on a call and give you a bunch of information. Believe it or not, after you schedule your call, I'm going to send you literally loads of information so that way you can do that research beforehand. So that way we can really build out a game plan for your son. We're not here to meet up and just basically tell you guys everything that we do. Again, that's what that pre-call checklist that we're going to send over to you guys so you can do that research beforehand so we can have an effective and efficient conversation. This is a real eligibility review. We have turned down plenty of players because of the simple fact that their mind is not in the right place. Again, we can't do this through text. We can't understand where your son's mind is currently at through text or through a phone call with you individually. We need to understand where the player's mind is at, because if the player doesn't want to play college baseball, then we're not going to force him to do anything that he doesn't want to do. And we're going to map out what he needs to do. And this is a no pressure environment. There's no games, guys. I'm just going to give you that clarity on what's going to be expected, what those potential next steps could look like if that game plan makes sense for you guys. And again, another reason is because there's those 2 paths, especially as a parent. Of course, there's path 1. You can keep doing what you've been doing. Waste another maybe $10,000 between travel ball, between private hitting coaches, equipment, camps, showcases, another recruiting profile like NCSA. Guys, you don't need another recruiting profile because you're not driving any traffic to it. You need to understand the system on how to get that attention, get those impressions, and get that exposure from college coaches. So that way, your son would basically stay invisible to these college coaches if you choose path 1. If we choose path 2, we give him a proven system to follow, real accountability, real recruiting strategy, and a real shot, again, at the only thing that we can really wish for, to play college baseball. So the choice is yours. Sophomore and junior year, guys, from my own personal experience when I was through the college recruiting process, it goes by like a blink of an eye. It flies by. So down below, you can go ahead and apply to get started. And just a reminder, limited spots are available this month. If you have a sophomore or junior who dreams of playing college baseball, but you are terrified of wasting maybe another $10,000 on showcases, travel, equipment, camps, all of the above that lead nowhere, the recruiting clock is already ticking. And this is the most important message you'll watch this entire year, so stick around. You already know the stats, but only 7% of high school baseball players make it to college baseball. Yes, 7%. And by junior year, most are already behind him. Parents waste thousands on showcases, hoping a coach will magically notice. College coaches don't sit in the stands taking notes on every random sophomore. They want players with proven metrics. The mental game, the recruiting strategy. And without those three things, your son is invisible. Junior year ends before you know it. And my name is Evan Mendoza. I played 7 years of professional baseball between the St. Louis Cardinals and the San Diego Padres. I was drafted from NC State University, even appeared in the World Baseball Classic representing Team Columbia, and I've helped over 200 players land offers. And recruiting isn't luck. It's really a system. And most parents learn it a little bit too late. So let's talk about problem number one. Your son's training is completely random. He's probably doing like notes app workout programs where he's writing the program kind of based off of YouTube videos, TikTok videos, Instagram videos, whatever the case may be. And his mentality, that's completely neglected. A lot of high school baseball players, and this is really problem number two, you neglect your son's mentality. Of course, making sure that he has those frameworks to overcome the many struggles that I've, of course, faced in the game of baseball. Problem number three is you have no recruiting roadmap, and you can't fix one without the others. And that's why I built the triple play system, built specifically for sophomores and juniors. And let's go over one by one. So physical development, this is training that ultimately will move the needle. We have workout programs written by New York Mets strength coach, and of course they are baseball specific, but what you guys are doing right now is kind of just a complete scatter, and there's no structure behind it. As far as on the mental development, you have to have daily accountability that builds these habits that pros, of course, have, or that D1 athletes have. As far as on the recruiting strategy, your son learns or ultimately to recruit himself. And most programs give you maybe just like drills, and they kind of do what I refer to as the Band-Aid approach. You can't put a Band-Aid on a leaky pipe because there's going to be a point in time where that leaky pipe, outgrows that Band-Aid. We give you the system. Your son launches recruiting in 14 days. And this isn't a course that you're going to forget. This isn't some cheap PDF or a YouTube video. It's a system he lives inside of. And this is real parents, real players, and real results. Sayori, the mom of Hugo, one of my students from Japan, Coach Evan changed everything for Hugo. Santiago, I'm fired up to work every day. And expanded on that quote, I remember Santiago told me he's excited to do that extra work beyond the team practices. And of course, we need to do that extra work beyond team practices to see that difference. Having you in my corner has been game-changing. That was from Landon from California. And we really have two ways to help our players. Which path depends on really his metrics and where he's currently at in the whole timeline, which is a reason why we need to speak together to just make sure that we map out the correct game plan. Path number one, that's called the triple play. That's what you may have already heard a little bit about. That's done with you. We give you the complete system. Your son executes it kind of like a robot, right? All right, welcome in. Hope everyone's having a great Saturday morning. I am your host, Evan Mendoza. I played 7 years of professional baseball between the Cardinals and Padres. I'm going to move this over a little bit. We're going to be talking some baseball mindset, development, recruiting, and there's also going to be a Q&A section at the very end. I see people are joining in over on YouTube. We are live over on Instagram as well. If you guys are live in here, guys, go ahead, as people are filtering in, go ahead and comment down below in the chat, whether you're on Instagram or YouTube, and just let me know where you're calling from, what state you're calling from. I'm always curious on how big of a reach we're able to create through this beautiful thing called social media. So guys, go ahead and drop down below where you guys are calling from, what state you guys are in. As we're getting started, I want to make sure that everyone is able to get in here in the first part. But we got a full deck here today as far as talking through, how to get recruited basically throughout this summer, which is going to be really important for really both of you 2027s and 2028s. We got New York in the house. We got Pennsylvania in the house. Guys, welcome in. This is going to be a great use of your time, so you're definitely going to want to stick around to the end. I also have some free bonuses for those that don't flake, so just make sure that you're spending some time with me. If you guys are in the car, maybe driving to a game, maybe to a practice, you don't have to be watching every single slide. You definitely can listen along. This is going to be probably around, we got YouTube, we got Florida. Let's go RJ James. I grew up in Sarasota, Florida, and the past about 5 years or so, 6 years ago, I've been in West Palm Beach. I just recently moved with my fiance to Raleigh, North Carolina. We got Alabama in the house from Dana. Welcome in, welcome in. And then also, guys, if this is like the very first live that you've ever come across my page, I always like to introduce you and make sure that we're welcoming you in with open arms. Go ahead and drop the baseball emoji down below. We'll probably get started here in the next minute, again, as people are starting to be filtered in. And like I said, we are live over on Instagram. We are live over on YouTube. And, we got some great goodies for you guys later on. We're also going to do some Q&As at the very end and also some player profiles that you guys have been destroying over on social media. We got New Jersey, Christy. Welcome in, or Christine, sorry about that. Sometime with the usernames, I butcher them. I do apologize. I try my best. I am not perfect by any means, but I do have my iPad here. We are going to be doing some player profiles. A lot of you players out there, especially the high school players, love for me to give some insights on what your numbers should look like and where you're currently at. We got Jane in Colorado. Welcome in, welcome in. Guys, with those player profiles that we'll do towards the end, just keep in mind, I will need basically 60-yard dash time, arm velocity, and exit velocity. So just if you know any of those, or maybe this would be a great time to go grab your player, ask what his numbers are, so that way we can do some player profiles. That way I can just give some insights on what your graduation year, your position, your metrics, so that way I can kind of level out, where you guys are projecting. But without further ado, let's get this process started. We guys all can see, of course, how to play college baseball, which is the beginning stages. So let's get into this episode of the Mendoza Line, guys. All right, let's get it. So like I said, guys, you're definitely going to want to stick around into the end, because I do have some bonus gifts at the very end for those dedicated individuals that, of course, want to get all the knowledge that they possibly can, and to be able to utilize some of these free bonuses. The only bonuses I'm going to be giving out, though, is for those that actually stick around and see the end. And this is only something that I'm going to be giving out on this live stream right now. So let's get into it. Like I said, I have some gifts for families who stay. And let's go over a quick agenda. And we also got Minnesota in the house. Minnesota. Here's what we're going to cover. So why most players never get noticed. The 3 mistakes costing your player his shot at playing college. We're going to go over a quick little 3-step system, how to fix some of these problems. And we're going to go over also some real players with real results and how to potentially get my help. All right. So before we really jump into everything, I think it is very, very critical that you know who I am, so you know if you want to even listen to my advice or not. There's definitely a bunch of phonies out there on social media that were high school coaches or maybe played 1 or 2 games at a D3 level, and now they, of course, spread a lot of noise that's on social media. I'm not like that. So I played 7 years of professional baseball, as you can see, with the St. Louis Cardinals and San Diego Padres. I also went through the college recruiting process before I landed my scholarship to go play at NC State University, while I also spent some time there studying aerospace engineering. I was also in a World Baseball Classic with Team Columbia, which is where my dad's from, and that was back in 2023. Not this most recent one, but the one before that. And I was also an overlooked high school player who was definitely a little bit underweight. You can see the jersey was quite literally wearing me. This was my freshman year of high school. Honestly, I love the batting gloves. It was, color coordinating. I got my jersey number. My lucky number is 28. So I thought I was the cool guy. But ultimately, I wasn't really in the position to play college baseball all the way up, really even until my senior year. But I really almost didn't make it. And what I've done, of course, throughout my career is I built the system I wish I had. We got a 10th grade prospect from South Korea. Let's go. I have 2 Japanese students, which I'll get into here in a second. But I'll save the Q&A for the very end. If you guys want to ask questions, you definitely feel free to do so right now. I'm just going to cover that towards the end, which will be about like 30, 40 minutes. But yeah, I built the system I wish I had when I was looking for that help when I was in high school around that sophomore, junior year. And we've helped over 200 players through the triple play system. We've had 18 college commitments in the past roughly 24 months. And just keep in mind, like, that is of eligible players. I have had freshmen join into the program that haven't been eligible to even earn a college baseball scholarship. Just keep those things in mind, right? But does this sound like you, or really your player? Maybe you're still waiting for college coaches to find your player, right? Maybe you're sending emails, but you're getting ignored. Maybe it feels like, you're guessing through the whole college recruiting process. Maybe you're watching, other teammates commit to schools while your player is not getting any looks. And maybe travel ball isn't turning into the offers that you once thought it was going to create. Maybe you're going to showcases, but not really getting much interest. You're not really sure what college coaches are even looking for. Maybe you're feeling like you're starting too late. You're tired of wasting money on camps or showcases that go nowhere. Your player is not getting replies from college coaches, and it feels like you're missing something everyone else knows. You're scared your player is getting overlooked. And you guys already know this, but 7% of all high school baseball players ever reach any level of college baseball. So right out of the gate, 93 out of 100 never make it. I don't use these numbers to scare you, because I truly believe if your son wants to play college baseball, he can find a fit for him, but he truly has to want it. And of course, you guys are here because more than likely your son is serious about the game of baseball, and we'll go over that. And by junior year, most players are already behind because they think August 1st of junior year is when recruiting starts. No. And they didn't even know that they were behind. So there are exactly 3 reasons, in my opinion, and by the way, I am not a college coach. I just already laid out, who I am and my playing career. And these are the things that I just think are the main reasons your player is being overlooked. So problem number 1, training and development. It's just incredibly random. There's no structure, there's no plan, there's no metrics behind what you're doing or why your son is doing it. And quite literally, your son is doing the Notes app workout program, which is, basically he has no plan, no structure, right? And he's kind of just writing out his own program in his Notes app, maybe based off of YouTube videos that he's finding, or TikToks or Instagrams, or worse yet, he's doing maybe like a football program or like a bodybuilding program because he wants to get jacked, right? I remember when I was in high school, I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I wanted to be able to walk around like this and, have massive biceps. Those things don't necessarily relate or translate to the game of baseball. And these college baseball coaches, guys, they recruit the numbers, not necessarily the effort your son is already putting in. Your son's doing the effort, and that's the greatest thing. He's already putting in the work. But they need to have these numbers like exit velocity, 60-yard dash time, arm speed. And by the way, I see Bradley went ahead and put some numbers. I appreciate that. We're going to do that towards the end. So if you don't know your son's numbers, and let's say your son's like a junior or a sophomore, this is prime time to start knowing these baseline numbers. It quite literally, like what I like to always say is, like, if you accidentally bump into, Tennessee's head coach at a Chipotle during the summer circuit at a perfect game tournament, and he said, "Hey, I just saw you play. What's your last name? Mendoza. What are some of your numbers?" Numbers? What do you mean by numbers? Right? That's going to make you look pretty bad, right? Not necessarily you, the parent, right? Hopefully that conversation would be with your son, and hopefully your son knows some of these numbers. So neither do these coaches. Problem number 2 is the mental game is being completely ignored. I'd say 98, but probably 99, maybe even close to 100% of high school baseball players are completely neglecting the mental game and neglecting training the mind like a muscle. So most players train their bodies, but nobody trains their mind, right? And coaches don't want just good talent. They want someone that's actually being able to be coachable under pressure. Not necessarily taking, advice one game and translating that into the next. You need to be able to make adjustments like that. Ideally, at the college level, I've used this example so many times. Like high school players, Let's talk about Little League. Little League players will adapt year to year, right? It takes a long time for them to adapt. High school players, on the other hand, they might take like week to week to be able to adapt or make changes based off of their, their coach. At the college level, you really need to be able to adapt, let's just say like, game to game. Like you need to be able to make these changes when the coach wants you to make those changes, right? It's expected out of you. In the minor league system, you might be able to make changes at bat to at bat, and then the best, the pinnacle, the big leaguers, they can make changes pitch to pitch because they know how to make adjustments, and that's the name of the game. And I'm going to go over some quotes that I've gotten from some of my students, just so you guys know that I'm real, and I also have helped other players. This is Santiago, one of my very first students. I used to get in my own head every time I made an error. Working with me, taught how to flush that out, and his junior year was one of the best. So as far as like on the mental side, you do need to understand these frameworks to overcome some of these struggles. Now, problem number 3, this is probably what you guys are here for. Recruiting, right? There's so much noise out there. You have no roadmap, right? There's no game plan. There's no strategy. And most families think showcases equals recruiting, or travel ball equals recruiting, or camps equals recruiting. They don't. College coaches don't discover players at showcases. They go to confirm players they already know about. So how do we get that understanding of how to get in front of these college coaches before an event? Of course, you're supposed to be emailing these college coaches directly, not necessarily using one of these platforms. I know you guys probably might have questions and concerns maybe about like the NCSAs and the field levels. Some of you guys have probably gotten burnt by those things before, because more than likely it's just like a huge database. I don't know exactly, but from the families that I have spoken to that have gone through those processes, it's more than likely just like a huge database. And from there, they say good luck, and you're kind of out there, high and dry. I don't like that, and neither do you. And most families have no idea that they're supposed to actually take those initiatives. So as far as the 3-step system that actually works time and time again, and this is what most program, they'll give you drills. They'll give you that Band-Aid approach. Maybe you guys feel this way with your hitting coach. You go to him maybe once a week, maybe during the season once a month after you have a bad game or a bad couple of games, or you're in a slump and I need a quick fix. Guys, if you have that type of mindset, that's not how baseball works. That's not how life works. Let's be honest. If you're trying to be good at something, you're not going to just be reactive. You need to be proactive. And I think, a lot of parents probably can relate to that. But, some of you guys, for whatever reason, do things differently for your player than you would yourself. So we give you that system. And this is kind of like a little bit of a diagram. Think about in an ideal world, we do want all 3. But typically speaking, a lot of you high school baseball players or maybe parents out there are only focusing on maybe 2 of these, and the last one's kind of, leaving high and dry. So let's say a lot of you parents out there think recruiting is the answer, and he's already doing hitting lessons once a week and that's enough. So you're focusing on recruiting and physical. So let's say those 2 right there were taken care of. Well, now on the mental side, we're completely neglecting. So we might have a good player that is in front of these college coaches, but slams his helmet after every strikeout, or shows terrible body language, or doesn't know how to deal with the failure. Does that sound familiar? Or let's say that, recruiting, we still believe that is the biggest thing. And, all you have to do is, have fun and have a great mindset. Well, now you're in front of these college coaches. You have a good mentality, but then your son's metrics don't match up to where they need to be as far as his graduation class. Maybe he's undersized. Maybe he's underdeveloped. Maybe his numbers don't match up even a D3 program right now. Now, on the last area, we really prioritize physical development and the mental side. Okay, you have an absolutely stud of a son. He's great. He's one of the best players on the team, but he's invisible to these college coaches. So this is the triple play system that I've developed out. Step number 1 is the physical development. Of course, we want to have structured training that moves your son's metrics with the exit velocity, the 60 time the arm speed. These numbers are what, in today's age of what college baseball recruiting looks like, this is what college coaches actually recruit. As far as on the mental development, you have to have daily accountability with someone outside of your current coaching staff, because let's be honest, if I'm the one writing the lineup and you keep bugging me about getting advice and getting advice, and it's a weird dynamic, and I never wanted to be that type of player that was kissing up to the coach, for example. So you need to have these habits that you need to instill really in your son sooner than later, because there's going to be a point in time we send him off to college, right, in his freshman year of college. If he doesn't have good time management skills, he might really be drowning, right, in all the work and all the responsibilities. And then also you need to have the mindset of how to develop under pressure, and, have the mindset of how to have a conversation with these college coaches, let alone the baseball IQ and knowing the game within the game. Now, the last area, of course, is the recruiting strategy. Guys, you need to learn how to recruit yourself. I don't want to necessarily give you the sauce and then basically, I do everything for you. I basically create a platter of fish and then, hey, just go ahead and eat the fish. It's super easy, right? All you have to do is literally just, if you're hungry, eat the food. No, I don't want to do that, because, of course, the mental development, understanding, accountability, ownership. Guys, I would much rather teach you how to fish than give you that fish. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's go over one by one. The physical development, these are going to be numbers that coaches actually recruit. So like I said, guys, the 60-yard dash time, the exit velocity, the arm velocity, and also position-specific metrics. If you're a right-handed, PO, let's just say, for example, you need to know your spin rate, your vertical induced, your horizontal induced, and then also if you're a catcher, your pop time and things like that. This is Derek. Of course, with the physical structure that we give out to all of our students, we can see a lot of these numbers move in the right direction. I'd say a lot of my players come to me at roughly around 120 to 160 pounds. And on average, we're usually gaining around 15 to 20 pounds of muscle throughout at least a 4-month span of time. With the arm velocity, the exit velocity, and the 60 time, we're all seeing those things track down. And of course, Derek already was running pretty fast. He was running a 7.1 when he came to me, and he got that down to a 6.7. Kids are going to love that one. Hopefully we can leave that in 2025 though. Anyway, the mental development, and this is the part that everyone skips, so let's get into it. The daily accountability habits, how to perform under pressure, how to handle failure like a pro. These are all the frameworks of also being coachable at that next level. And this is what coaches want. So let's talk about Mateo. First off, I wanted to share this screenshot that I got from Mateo, because number one, the proper English I thought was just amazing, because I was more of a math and science guy in high school. So I couldn't construct this message ever. So I was just really impressed with Mateo and where his mind was at throughout the program. So let's read through this together. At first, I didn't really understand the concept of accountability in this program. I didn't understand that this program was going to be based on progressing independently from the coach as a player. This was strange to me at first, as it probably is for a lot of high school baseball players. You don't realize you have to do that extra work, right? This was strange to me, as I've had a coach guide me in essentially every step along the way in my baseball journey, right? This is what I refer to as hand holding. I think he mentions that at the end, right? When you told me my parents that the program, however, was based on my accountability and responsibility, is when I began to think differently about this program and realized that this independence, paired with the vast amount of mental given in the triple play program itself, would greatly guide me in doing things and making more decisions independently, development-wise, as a player. Already, I believe this program has helped me build a confidence for myself in making my own informed decisions in program building, etc., without, as you said, a coach hand-holding you every step of the way. That's powerful. Also, greatly constructed, message over to me, Mateo. I worked with him for a decent amount of time, and of course he got his metrics up, and his mindset was in a really good spot with that confidence. So just really powerful in my opinion. But last but not least, let's talk about the recruiting strategy, because we don't want to be waiting in our 10th grade and 11th grade years to just wait to be discovered. And even the freshmen right now, it's almost the end of the high school season. You're about to play some summer ball. Of course, you want to have some structure around that summer ball strategy. So you're almost a sophomore, so I'll even include those freshmen in there as well. So here's the truth about showcases. Again, coaches go to confirm players that they already know. So you do need to reach out first. And what actually gets you recruited is emailing these college coaches with what they need to make an informed decision, right? If you're just, and I think a lot of people get misunderstood what a template means. A template means this is the information that you should be including, right? It doesn't mean copy and paste everything and then just send it to as many people as humanly possible. That is not necessarily what a template means. A template means don't tell your whole life story. Guys, I've gotten probably in the past month, maybe like 100 recruiting emails from parents. I don't like that when parents are the one initiating the contact, but I get it. And I'll tell you this, when the email starts out with, so when my son was in the embryo, like I don't read the rest of the email, right? For example, like I don't care what hospital your son was born in. I don't care the day of the week, right? Like these are things that college coaches don't care about either. So that's what I mean by having a template. Now, as far as like a highlight video, we want to be able to make a significant impact for a fractional evaluation inside that highlight video within the first 30 seconds. So of course, if you're editing things in the wrong way, more than likely you're not going to necessarily get the best results of what you're looking for. And we also need to have consistent and strategic following up, right? Coaches do respect persistence. I think this is something that there's that fine line of, I don't want to be annoying, but I want these college, coaches to know who, I am. So I understand that. I think I was a little bit, when I was in high school, I didn't have the correct guidance. So I think I was a little bit more on the, I was a pretty annoying type of player. But anyway, let's talk about also building those real relationships before evaluations. Because again, if you're building the relationship before the event, during the event, they already have your name circled. And that's ideal if you're trying to, of course, play at the next level. So our players will email coaches within the first 14 days of starting up my program. So let's walk through this quickly.
So let me know when it changes. But you see my screen? Okay, I'm interested in who JT is. Now go look at your screen.
Email clicked.
Wow,
look at that.
So that means you've clicked links in the email.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So that's just one example, of course, of how our system works, because of course we're tracking that data.
I honestly love it. Like, I enjoy how I can see who clicked on my links that I sent out and who just clicked on the email and just saw who opened up my email. It's cool to know, like, there's colleges at such a really high level that are just clicking on my stuff. And I honestly think it's one of the best ways to get reached out from, like, reach out to your colleges for that. Like, I think it was awesome and how the sheets worked, and that extension was so easy and it helped. So, like, it literally took no effort for me to do that. I mean, I just had to personalize and research all the coaches, but that's about it. Like, it was super simple and easy, and it's probably the quickest way to get that much responses. And you can also see, who's emailing you and also who's clicking on your stuff. So I think it's awesome. That's my opinion on it, and I want to thank you for just sending me all that stuff and helping me out.
Yeah, so obviously, like, the system, it's not designed to like take up your whole day, right? And this is Hugo, one of my Japanese students' parents. This is actually Sayori. Coach Evan changed everything for Hugo. He went from confused and stuck to having actually like a real plan, metrics moving, and coaches reaching out to him. Santiago also, I'm fired up to do the work every day. I actually know what I'm doing and why, and it's a completely different feeling. Now let's talk about this because this is all on my website, guys. Go to MendozaBaseballAcademy.com. You can go to student case studies. You'll find out basically all the information that you need to realize that I am who I say I am. I've helped other players out. And all of these faces are my students. And there's also interviews that you can watch, sometimes with the parent and such. So go do your research. I am who I say I am. So I also want to show you what's inside the actual program. So in the Triple Play program, there's a dashboard with every metric, every coach, every step along the way, right? And that dashboard helps you get that clarity that you are on the right path and where you stand. As far as the training program, like we have a New York Mets strength and conditioning program, strength coach, creating those programs. So that way your son's doing baseball specific movements, and it's also built around his specific metrics and position. So no more like reps that are random for maybe, let's say, like a bodybuilder. That's not what we're trying to do. The whole college outreach system, this is the templates, the scripts, the tracking, the system behind it, because there is a little bit of like a tech setup. So your son understands how to reach out to these college coaches within 14 days. This is a lot more of a proactive approach than reactive approach. As far as accountability, like, of course, Slack is massive. So Slack is, for those that don't know, it's kind of like a Discord. It's kind of like a WhatsApp. It's kind of like a group me, but basically in a nutshell, it's the way that your son's going to be able to text me every single day if he really wants to. Every Friday, we reach out and basically just say like, hey, how's everything been going? We start that conversation just in case, like, I haven't heard from you in the past week. So quite literally, I'm in your son's corner every step of the way. So now, because I know a lot of you guys are curious on what in the world is this dude's program, how does it work, what does it look like? You guys have probably a million questions, so let's go through a quick little program.
Hey guys, Evan Mendoza here. If you give me a quick second, I'm going to walk through my exact program, the triple play, so you know exactly what it looks like and how everything works before we meet together. So as far as the welcome 14-day challenge, so this is ideally the must-watch later video, laying expectations and rules. But as far as the step 1, step 2, and everything like that, what that looks like is basically the 14-day document. Your son's going to be able to like make a copy and do all that fun stuff, so that way he's able to check in with everything and keep tabs on where he's at. Of course, I'll have access to this document as well. Your son's going to join into the Slack community, which I'll cover here in a second. He's going to do a couple of tasks before he schedules his onboarding call. Onboarding call is quite literally a Zoom call that we're about to hopefully be speaking. Your son's also going to do daily sprint work, and the idea of this is about 15 minutes a day, just building that consistency, so that way we can actually, get that momentum going in the right direction. As far as building out the outreach system, so it's one of my favorite parts about the whole program, but basically we have this email template. Your son's going to fill that out and, basically send it back over to me. I'll also proofread everything, which is really important that your son sounds like a baseball player. Also, the college list, that's something that I help out with as well. You'll basically go through this process, and one of the best things that we do is when we actually send out these emails, as you can see, we can see if they've clicked, opened. If it hasn't been opened, we can of course reattempt if they responded. That's one of my favorite parts about the whole program, and of course we're going to install that same template for your son as well. We need a highlight video, of course, so there's a video editing crash course on how to do that. And of course, we'll go through like those steps of what that would look like. As far as going back into the portal, of course, there's the workout programs, which I'll cover here in a second. We have the course material as far as the college commitment blueprint. We also have the velo throwing program and arm care course, and then also the pro defense course. So if I'm just going to show you guys my teaching style for here in a second, up here, as you can kind of see, as it was playing. So I'm up here talking through examples of what we're actually walking through right here. These are like 2-second looping videos, so that way you're able to implement exactly what you're seeing into your routine. And I would say a lot of my players are visual learners. I'm a visual learner. Your son's probably a visual learner as well. As far as like the gym workouts, for example, they are all mobile friendly, so your son's going to be able to download them, open them up on his phone. And this is in season, for example, phase 1, March, Monday. It's going to be an upper body lift, and all of these are like clickable links, by the way. So we take into account the volume your son should be doing in season versus out of season. And then, for example, if your son doesn't know what hamstring tantrums look like, he'll click a video. It's going to pull up a video explaining exactly how to do that movement, so your son never feels lost in this whole process. So that basically, in a nutshell, is the portal. Now, this is the Slack community. So it's basically a communication tool, kind of like Discord, kind of like WhatsApp. It's just really a way for, like, for example, Aiden, sending me some screenshots of his from his 14-day challenge, some of his sprint work, so I can give him some feedback. And this is just basically some of the things that we communicate back and forth. Aiden sent over his email template. So these are all things that we need to stay accountable of doing the thing, whatever the thing may be inside the program. I also love Slack because I can do voice memos to all of my students. And for example, like Aiden, he just got his very first offer, which was really awesome. I was able to share some excitement with him. But yeah, guys, this is what the community looks like. Of course, this is how I hold my students accountable. I also check in with my students every single Friday. There's an accountability form that's sent out every Sunday. So this is the way that we're able to communicate. Also scheduling out things like onboarding calls, launch call, check-in calls, roadmap calls. Like, these are all calls that I have created and segmented out inside my program. But of course, your son has the liberty to be able to schedule out one-on-one calls whenever he feels like it's needed. For example, I had a player from Southern California make a trip over to Harvard for an official visit. He wanted to kind of like just shake out the nerves and have like a mock interview kind of with a college coach, and I pretended to be a college coach, so that way he had that understanding of like what to expect before he knocked it out of the park during that visit. So this is the communication tool that we use, which is Slack, and that's basically a rundown about my entire program. Hopefully you guys have a better understanding on how we operate, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you guys very soon.
All right, so like obviously that's the program breakdown. Hopefully that clears some of the air of like what in the world is actually going on. And there's really two ways we help, right? Because which one is going to be right for your player? It really depends on where he's currently at, and of course our assessment on where he's at, right? Because not every player is going to be a good fit for either of our programs, let alone one or the other. So as far as the triple play versus the full ride framework, a lot of people don't even know about the full ride framework, and that's intentional because not many players even qualify. So the triple play program is done with you. All right, so this is going to be best for really the freshmen, the sophomores, and sometimes the seniors, building the foundation in a little bit more of a quicker sprint. We give you the system, and your son executes the work each and every day. This is going to be real coaching every step of the way. And of course, the triple play is the physical, mental, and recruiting with the one-on-one support throughout that whole process. So as far as the recruiting side, your son's going to be doing it, and I'm going to be, making sure that he's doing it right. I'm also going to build out strategies for him throughout, the summer, throughout the fall, throughout the winter, to make sure that these college coaches never know or forget who your son is. Now, the full ride framework, it's a little bit different. It's basically everything inside the triple play, but it's done for you. So this is best for those 2027s currently that are ready to get that recruitment or that college commitment now. And I personally am the one running his entire recruiting. I quite literally reach out to these college coaches on behalf of your son. So basically it doesn't look like it's coming from me. It looks like it's coming from your son, which is how it should always be. And I deliver these conversations to your doorstep. So that way, all you have to do, or really all your son has to do, is perform when it matters. And let's say that like we were able to coordinate maybe some level of like a visit or whatever the case may be. Of course, your son needs to show up like professional. If he's, showing up in sweatpants, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for us to, get everything in motion. There's also live dashboards, because this is the commonality that I hear with a lot of families with these recruiting people. They say, like, yeah, I'll help you out. And it's like, okay, those people, if that conversation that you had with, let's just say, a travel ball coach, because it's typically travel ball coaches that will say that, next time that you see them, ask them, how many emails have you sent out strictly on behalf of my son? If they can't give you a for sure number with also some level of a dashboard, look at these emails. Like maybe they pull up their phone, look at these emails that I've sent out for your son. If they don't do that, just believe they've probably sent out 0 emails on behalf of your son specifically. Now, this is how I kind of see, especially these higher end travel ball programs. Let's just say, easy example, LSU reaches out to the Canes. I'm just using teams. Don't, get all twisted as far as whatever. But let's say an LSU coach reaches out to the Canes coach and, a travel ball coach. Hey, who are your best 2027s? The travel ball coach will respond with, here are the best 2027s, right? It's not going to be like, hey, Evan Mendoza is the guy. He is the only one that I want you to get recruited. That's a different universe. If you're living in that, I'm just telling you, that's not how these things work. So that's where it's never going to be necessarily specifically for your son. And these these high school and travel ball coaches, they're going to answer the phone when these college coaches call. They're just not going to do the dirty work of initiating the conversation to ensure that these things get done. So, of course, if you're, a parent or a player and you want to ensure that these things get done, either the triple play or the full ride framework, either way, the full ride framework, I'm going to be able to easily show you what exactly is going on, how many emails we've sent out, and so much. We've been able to, get 18 college commitments in the past 24 months. With that in mind, of course, the freshmen, the 8th graders, even on occasion, the 10th graders, they can't get offers. So just keep that in mind with, some of the numbers, so to speak. And we've helped over 200 players through the triple play system. So as far as like working with me inside the triple play program, or the full ride framework, really, who is this for? And who is this not for? I want to be crystal clear, right? Because I would say there's more times than not more things that we look at that disqualify a player than qualify a player. But anyway, if your player is hungry and coachable, this could potentially be a good fit. If you're tired of wasting money on showcases, if you want a real plan and not any more guessing, and your son is ready to do the work together. If this is a case where like you have a doubt on if your son will actually do the work, this is probably not for you. So if you're looking for like that magic button to press and then all of a sudden your son's going to become the next Mike Trout, that is not how this works. Of course, your player has to do the work, right? And if your player won't be able to do the work, without being pushed, right? Like that's the biggest thing that I have a little bit of a bone to pick, because every once in a while I'll speak to families that for about 30 to 40 minutes on an eligibility review, which is how I qualify players to even see if they're eligible to work with me. For 30 or 40 minutes, the parents will be like, my son's so great. He is so committed. He's so he has big dreams and goals. He's one of the best players on his team. He works so hard. And then at the end of the call, you can imagine things usually change. So usually the parents will be like, well, I don't know if he's going to do the work. I don't know if he's actually that serious. I don't know if he'll flake. So if you have that doubt already, like, again, this is probably not a good fit, and that's okay. We like working with serious high school baseball players. We don't want to be average, and probably neither does your son. Your son doesn't want to be an average high school baseball player, because let's be honest, if we think about the trajectory of an average high school baseball player, do average high school baseball players play in college? No. Only 7% play at the college level across all divisions. Also, if you just want to like complain about politics, I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. Go complain to the other moms, the other dads. I'm not your guy, because let's be honest, if you use the word politics on one of my calls, I'm going to ask if your son's throwing 100 miles an hour or hitting the ball 400 plus feet in batting practice. And if either of those are not true, your son needs to get to work. Simple as that. You might not like that answer, but it's the truth. If you're spending all this energy, all of this mental energy complaining rather than taking action to actually develop the thing that gets you more playing time, that gets you, seen, it's a waste of energy in my opinion. So don't, bring that up to me. I'm not your guy. Our guarantee, it's something that kind of scares me, right? And that's how a guarantee should be, especially for the full ride framework. So if your son does not receive a scholarship in 12 months, you get 100% of your money back, every penny. And 100% of your money back. So yes, like there's an initial investment to join into the program. And this is only for the full ride framework. Just putting that out there, right? So you get 100% of your money back. This is how confident we feel as far as our recruiting strategies. And of course, we only bring players in that fit the certain metrics as far as where we need them to be to ensure that they get that scholarship. So we are very selective in that process. We do also have like a measurable improvement guarantee inside the triple play program, which that's usually the stepping stone to get into, the full ride framework, so to speak. So with where you guys are at currently, and I see a decent amount of people over on YouTube. There's some people over on Instagram as well watching this live. You have two paths in front of you right now. Really three. The third one I kind of don't even want to go down. There's work with us, work with someone else, or do nothing at all. The third option, I'm going to close that one right now because you guys are already taking this process serious. You guys are already knowing you need some level of help, right? Especially on the recruiting side, because more than likely you haven't sent any emails. You don't develop recruiting strategies. So let's talk about these two paths in front of you right now. So number one, you can do nothing, right? You could spend on showcases, expecting more exposure or expecting conversations. You can let another year go by because maybe you're thinking to yourself, maybe this isn't the right time. Your son's going to stay invisible for that next year though. And his senior year might end and he might live with that, a little bit of doubt on, or regret, I should say, of maybe if I just took baseball a little bit more serious. It breaks my heart, guys, especially for the parents out there. It breaks my heart because I just kind of recently went through sometimes what these freshmen in college, let's view those 2025 grads. Sometimes they'll message me, dude, I just, I'm a freshman in college right now. I'm thinking about getting back into the game. I just wish I took things a little bit more serious in high school. I mean, shoot, my brother even tells me that every once in a while because he saw what my career looked like, of course. He played some college ball, but he was pretty good too. Great pitcher, great third baseman. We, of course, trained side by side. I took it serious from, day one, though, for baseball, truly. And the reason I relate to this, guys, is because I just finished up my playing career in 2023. And that transition out of baseball, it's not very easy, right? That's why I'm doing this, because I love baseball. I love talking baseball. It's something I'm good at. And I also like helping players as well. But that feeling of man, I just wish I had one more high school at bat. Or one at bat. I just want one chance to play in college. That's a scary feeling. And I don't want that feeling for your son, especially if we're talking about if there's ways to address those things now, because those things might be 3 years down the road. If your son's a sophomore, 1 year goes by, that's junior year. 1 year goes by, that's senior year. 1 year goes by, he's a freshman in college and he's not on the baseball team and he's trying to walk on, realizing that's almost impossible. And then he's like, can we hit rewind just like we do on Netflix? Are we able to hit rewind in real life, guys? No. Time is one of the most precious assets. So the other side of things, you can get the system with real structure, real accountability, real recruiting strategy. Something that maybe your son's going to be that next commitment. Having a real shot at playing college baseball. And like I said, guys, time is one of the most valuable assets, and sophomore and junior years are going to fly by. So don't be the parent who wishes they started sooner. Don't be the player also wishing that you started sooner. If you're the player listening to this live right now, go talk to your parents right now. Have a discussion at the very least. What do I want out of baseball? What do I want my next 3 or 4 years to look like? Do I want to keep playing baseball? Do I want to commit? Do I want to actually take this serious? Because if the answer is, yes to any of those questions or all of those questions, get the resources so you can actually elongate your career. For those that don't know, I also went to NC State as a pitcher and a shortstop. So I was a two-way player, kind of like Ohtani, but way less good. And because I made the transition from pitcher to a third baseman in between my freshman year and sophomore year of college, just that alone, and because I had the drive, I had the work ethic, I had the structure of knowing what to do, I basically elongated my career. No joke. Becoming a third baseman, hitting 362 my sophomore year, getting drafted, playing 7 years. I elongated my career 10 years. 10 years I played because I was able to make a change, put myself in the best room or position to succeed. And that's exactly what I did in between my freshman year in college and sophomore year of college. I got to work. I put my head down. I took it serious. So here's what happens next if you guys are actually serious. You can click the link below this video. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram, you can just click the link in my bio and apply. There's going to be a short little application, ask you some questions about where you're currently at to make sure you even qualify. And of course, we'll schedule that call if it gives you that option. We can map out exactly what your player specifically needs to create that personalized program for him. I do want to be transparent with you guys because I truly don't believe that these are sales calls. These are eligibility reviews, of course. They're making sure that we're a mutual fit for each other. I want to make sure that you guys are a good fit for me, but then also I'm a good fit for you guys. The road goes both ways, because if I have a gut feeling that your son's not going to do the work, or if his mind is not in the right place, I'm not going to force you guys or even give you an offer to join into the program. So this is really a review. No real pressure. It's just giving you that clarity on where your son's at, where he's trying to go, and what those potential next steps could potentially look like. So if you guys are ready to get started, you can book that eligibility review down below. Just go to my website, Google it. If you can't figure those things out, guys, we're probably not a great fit for each other. Like I said, there's going to be a link down below. The first link down below on the YouTube description to schedule that out. As far as what happens on that call, let's go through that. So it's around 30-40 minutes. Again, it's not really a sales call, and you'll leave knowing exactly where your player stands among the rest of the competition in his graduation class and what he needs to be focusing on the most and exactly what he needs to do next. You're talking to me directly, by the way. No salesperson or VA or other coach. I played 7 years of professional baseball. I want to give that expertise to you and your family, really. And by the way, I say family, yes, because all financial decision makers are needed on the call. So let's kind of go through a step-by-step of how this call works. So number one, I do want to get to know you guys, your backstory, and grades, positions, metrics, things like that. Just having a quick conversation. I want to understand what that gap even might look like. As far as let's say you throw 80 miles an hour, but you want to throw 90 miles an hour. Okay, what have we been doing to progress towards that 90 miles an hour? Are we on a throwing program? How many days a week is that? What distances are we doing? Any type of arm care? These are the type of questions that I'm going to be asking your son, and hopefully he's going to have some clarity on how he's going about it. From there, we're going to build out that custom game plan and making sure that that program actually fits what you guys are looking for. Last, not necessarily last, but we're going to answer, I'm going to answer some of your guys' questions on any specific tailoring your son might need within the program, because of course what we do is personalized. And then last, but not least, you guys will be prompted to either make a decision whether it's 100% yes or 100% no. If you guys want to think things over, you guys have already been thinking things over. So anyway, I digress. But which program fits? Because these are things that, of course, I want you guys to start thinking about as well. It's not necessarily you have to think about this. I'll, of course, guide you in the right direction on what I think you need or what you don't need, basically. So basically triple play or full ride framework, depending on where you're at. Of course, what those specific metric gaps are holding your player back. And sometimes you might not even know what those metrics are. And that's going to be the biggest bottleneck for you, because of course, knowing your baseline metrics helps us see improvements. Also, we're going to go over his recruiting timeline and what needs to happen and when. Maybe a target school level, so I can get a feel for what your mindset is on as far as dreams and goals and what that ceiling might look like for you. And of course, what these college coaches want to see. And by the end of the 30 minutes, guys, you're going to have more clarity than you've had all year. I've had so many times, and I wish I could clip them all, but it would take way too much time. I've had so many families at the end of the call just thank me. Oh, thank you so much for the information. Be careful with that, right? Because yes, I give you that clarity on the information of where your son's at and where he's trying to go. But last time I checked, the times where I really thanked someone, and by the way, I've joined into coaching programs before to help me understand how to do cool things like this with the slideshow on the screen, and I've watched tutorial videos. I've I've done probably very similar things to what you guys have done on the recruiting process, watched videos, tried to implement things myself. But I have actually paid decent amount of money to some coaches out there, and I like thinking about that experience because some of those experiences were quite literally life-changing. It was right after I finished up my professional career, I joined into this coaching program to help learn a little bit more how to do baseball coaching online. And looking back at that experience, it was about like 4 months that I was in that program. I'm not going to thank that coach, particularly, I call him really my mentor now. I'm not going to thank that mentor for giving me information. I'm going to thank that mentor for holding me accountable and taking action. So, like, yes, these calls are very informative, but don't confuse information and action. Because if you're confusing information and action, the biggest thing that I see is like information's just going to make you kind of get this like analysis paralysis. Quick little example. When I was at NC State, there was 3 players on the team, and I was one of them that was included, that studied engineering. One guy, Will Gilbert, he was a lefty, smart guy, really funny, a little bit undersized, but he was actually really nasty, kind of like a slanger on like a low 3/4. Great pitcher. We used him a ton, and he was awesome. He played some pro ball with the Athletics. The other guy, Corey Wilder, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a scrimmage, and he was on the mound. By the way, he threw like 98, and he was supposed to be one of our aces. Coach Elliott Avent, the head coach at NC State, he would tell him, because he was so smart, he was always on the mound trying to create like these equations. And you could kind of see him, quite literally, his mind was spinning on the mound. He's trying to craft the perfect thing. He's trying to think about how to throw the strike, right? It sounds so simple, but like he was thinking about all this information, thinking about all the different mechanics while he's out there. Guys, when you're thinking about all these things, you're not doing it, right? Same thing like when because I was an infield, I was a shortstop, right? If you think about charging the ground ball to pick the right hop, is that going to help you? Or is actually taking that momentum going forward and trusting your instincts to take that next step? Same thing at the plate. Can you think and hit at the same time? Absolutely not, right? So anyway, like the whole process of like thinking about things, guys, you've already thought about these things. And, of course, these are some common statements that I'll hear on calls. We need to think about it. And isn't that why you're even here in the first place? Not even like on the call, but here. You're spending time with me. You could be doing anything else in the entire world. You could be eating lunch. You could be eating breakfast. I don't know what time it is wherever you guys are. I think we have some West Coast people in the house. But anyway, you could be doing quite literally anything in the world right now. And you're spending some time with me, learning about some of these things. And isn't that the exact reason you're here? Because you've already thought about it plenty. You've already been thinking about this for some time, getting some help, getting some assistance. So what changes between now and next week? What changes between now and next month or next year? Junior year doesn't pause while you think it over. Recruiting doesn't pause when you think these over. Your son's dreams and goals don't pause either. I was fortunate enough when I was with the St. Louis Cardinals and San Diego Padres, guys, played alongside guys like Juan Soto, Tatis, Machado. When I was with the Cardinals, Yachty, Goldschmidt, Arenado. Those guys don't wait around for their dreams and goals to come true. They take action because they want it, and nothing's going to stop them, right? They don't wait next year to get better. They don't wait next year to get faster or throw harder, right? They take action because that's who they are. That's who they want to become. They're not going to let time be the thing. Also, I need to talk to my spouse first. Like, guys, that's why we we don't encourage, we require both parents, if they are in the decision-making process, to be on that call. And if not, we'll schedule a second call. The call will be cut short because this is a team effort. I've heard it so many times. Oh, my husband's busy. Too busy to talk about your son earning baseball scholarship money so it can save you tens of thousands of dollars? Kind of busy? Busy isn't an excuse for me. We have 24 hours in the day. We all get the same 24 hours. What I would rather hear you say, right? Instead of my husband's busy. My husband, doesn't view this as a priority right now. Whoa. Now everyone gets on the edge of their seat. No. We didn't say that. No, you are. Because whenever someone tells me that they don't have time for something, and I catch myself saying that too, I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do. No, I reframed my mind to really, I rewired my mind to think, no, I'm just not prioritizing that right now. You know, like there's a bunch of pickleballers at the local gym that I'm going to right now. They play pickleball all the time. Honestly, I'm not prioritizing playing pickleball. I haven't played a lot. I'm not prioritizing that right now. It's not that I don't have time or I don't want to, or this isn't I'm not serious about playing pickleball. No, it's not a priority right now. I'd rather work out. I'd rather run. I'd rather do some of my boxing classes that I've been doing, right? But at the end of the day, like, we're not here to play telephone. That's not how, families get the most out of these calls. Families will move quick if they're on the same page. Another one, we're not sure if he's even ready. I think I see Jay McCaffrey, my player's 13, a little early for recruiting. We'll see about that. I don't know if 13 is 8th grade or 9th grade, but anyway, I hear this all the time from sophomores, juniors, and seniors. I don't even know if my son's ready. Guys, if you have this thought process, do not book a call with me. Do not look for the resources, but more than likely you are here because you know the value in getting some outside help. If your son's going to flake, like, if you already have that question mark on, is my son going to flake if he joins into a program? Not even my program, but a program. And by the way, a program should hold the player accountable, should ensure that the player is doing the work. Now, this is where a lot of families get it kind of misunderstood. You might think going to a private hitting coach is the same type of accountability as a remote training program, which of course it's not. A remote training program, because we are remote, we of course focus on the development, mindset, and recruiting. But on the development side of things, if this is the first time your son has been given the opportunity to be accountable, isn't this going to be like a telling sign on how he's going to be in college? Because if he's in college and he's just doing what everyone else is doing, or let's say he's in high school and he's doing what everyone else is doing, he's going to, hitting lessons once a week, like that even moves the needle. You guys know, like I did the math one time. If you go once a week for 1 hour, that's 4 times or 4 hours in the month. That's like 0.56% of the entire month. You expect that to be part of the reason why your son is in the 7% of playing college baseball? Get out of here with that. Your son has to do more work on his own time. And if he hasn't done that, there's no way to believe that if he's going to do the work or not, right? Because he's never been put in that situation before. Of course, I'm going to push him to make sure that he understands no one else is stepping into the batter's box with him. That's not mom. That's not dad. I'm not going to be in the batter's box with him. He's going to be the one that needs to, take the bull by the horns and take ownership of his career. So, like I said, if you guys have that question mark, if your son is even serious about getting some of these resources or following through, don't waste your time. Don't book a call with me. Don't waste my time. Because we work with serious high school baseball players that know exactly what they want, and nothing's going to get in their way. A pretty common one, and by the way, I send over like a massive pre-call checklist for you guys to get all these questions answered, but like we do have some flexible payment plans, and even like 1 semester of a scholarship as far as, tuition. Some of our players, think about it. 1 semester of freshman year, if we were able to generate like a 25% scholarship, guys, that's still like a good like $10,000 potentially on what university that we could be saving. So, of course, think about that. We do have some payment plans though. And we, again, only accept players who can genuinely get and receive that help. So like if it's not a fit, we're going to tell you that too, because I want to make sure like I can actually help you. One of the biggest things on the application for those parents out there, you guys know how important this is. I ask GPA, because if your son's GPA starts with a 2, I can't do much. And that's just facts. Like I can't do much. And that's where it'll automatically cancel that call if you do select 2.9 or lower, just a heads up, because I can't help you at that stage. So let's talk about like what happens if you don't book a call, you don't get that help. Again, if you don't book, you're going to keep guessing what your player needs, keep spending a lot on showcases with no plan, maybe watch his teammates commit, and then senior year arrives, you hit that panic button. You quite literally hit that panic button. Booking the call, it is risk-free, guys. It's 30 minutes or so with me directly. You're going to know exactly where your player stands. You're going to get that customized game plan and recruiting plan built out. So you have that decision on like whether you feel like this is actually going to move the needle or not. You're going to leave with that clarity, not more confusion on all the other noise that's out there on social media. Spots are limited though, not only on these calls, but inside the academy, because I only take a set number of calls per week. Of course, I have my series players that I'm, serving as well within the program as well. And I only work with 5 new athletes per month. So that way, and by the way, like a lot of your high school coaches and maybe travel ball coaches, I'll tell you that, the same thing. We're going to help you with recruiting. But what happens when that organization has 200 players and each coach's bandwidth gets incredibly thin? Now what? Do they actually help? No. So like I want to make sure, and this was told to me, and that's exactly why I've created my academy this way, because I don't want to be the same as them, right? I want to make sure we're delivering basically a very high touch, white glove service for my students as they're joining into the program, as their world is being changed, and as we set a new standard. That takes time and resources from me, and that's why I don't want to dilute what we're doing here. And really, the longer you wait, the further behind your player gets in these recruiting windows that close. So if it interests you, the first link down below on Instagram is going to be to book that eligibility review. So feel free to do that. And like I said, guys, a couple of free bonuses for those that are staying until the end. If you go to my website, you'll see some free courses. These are the 4 courses. So how to email college coaches completely for free, no opt-in required, no phone number, no nothing. You just get direct access to some of these things. Our lifting program, so that's going to be one single day. It's going to be an upper body lift. Excuse me. It's not an entire written out program. It's not personalized, guys. These are free programs. I don't get it also why people are like, oh, like, this, that, whatever, this is about money. If it was all about money, guys, why would I put these things out here for complete free? It's $0. Why would I put this out? I'm here to try helping people because I understand my program is not for everyone, and I can't quite literally serve every single high school baseball player. One of my dreams, but really the company, Mendoza Baseball Academy, the vision and mission is to help every single high school baseball player out. So for me to be able to deliver on that, I have to be able to give things out for free, if that makes sense. Because I know for a fact not every single high school baseball player is in the right mindset, physical, environment. Maybe, family is going through some things, whatever the case may be, that might be limiting joining into my program. Financial side, like there are reasons why not every single high school baseball player is going to be able to join into my program, and that's okay. That's why I give you guys these free things, because I want to be able to make an impact on every single high school baseball player or family that's out there. And that's also why we create so much great content out there. So now I'm going to transition this over to a Q&A session. So guys, biggest thing that if you want your player profile to be broken down, the biggest thing you need to know some of these metrics. And this is going to be more of like that interactive side of this webinar or live event. And this is something that the players love when I post these up and throw them up on Instagram. So if you want me to basically do the same, just go ahead and drop some of the questions that you might have down below in the chat, and then we'll kind of just go from there. All right, so I did see a couple of people, and then also on Instagram, I think there's a couple of people as well that commented, and I'll do those as well. And we'll do some player profiles to kick things off. And of course, if you have a specific question, feel free to ask. First off, I'm going to address Jay McCaffrey, 30. If you're still in here, my player's 13. Don't know if that's 8th grade or 9th grade. A little early for recruiting. Depends. If he's in 8th grade, I understand that. The way that I like to explain recruiting, it's kind of like a, it's a little speed bump. Oop. It's a little speed bump in the parking lot, right? It's nothing super crazy. Not many people are going to be like, thinking about it too much as far as recruiting, right? But usually the inaction between 8th grade and let's just call it 10th grade, right? It's the inaction of not knowing exactly what's going on or how to go about it. Instead of that, speed bump in the parking lot that nobody thought was important, or maybe people think it's too early, now all of a sudden it turns into like Mount Everest, right? And it's like you're standing right here at the base of Mount Everest and you're looking up to yourself like, oh no, what did I get myself into? Right? So like that is the thing I think that a lot of like players and families think that like waiting is going to give you some level of like understanding, or I'm going to wait until things get more serious, or things like that. Guys, like waiting for the right time or the perfect time doesn't exist. So like I do have 8th graders that join into my program. My program is dedicated specifically for like high schoolers, but every once in a while like a dedicated 8th grader will allow in. It's on occasion. It's not very often, but I would say, we have probably the majority of our students are 10th graders. The second most is probably 9th graders. The third most is probably juniors, and the least amount are probably seniors. Unfortunately, I feel like mentally sometimes you just tell yourself that it's already over, or your family does, which is really, really sad. But yeah. Anyway, hopefully this makes sense. This is my mindset on how recruiting works. Of course, like the thing that we, of course, need to be focusing on if your son is in 8th grade. Let me just see. Yep. Jay McCaffrey, if you're still here, I'm not sure if your son's in 8th grade or 9th grade, but if he's in 8th grade, like this is where the working out side of things is still going to be really important, right? Getting after the gym. What I like to say is like if we're trying to build a big pyramid, so like those like great Egyptian pyramids, right? The only way that we can build that pyramid, and let's just call the height of that pyramid, the skill or the level. Okay, so he's in 7th grade. Wow. So yeah, maybe a little bit too early. But if we're talking about, and this goes for all high school baseball players or parents, if we're talking about the skill or the level, and that's the height of, this pyramid, we all should want to build a super strong pyramid, right? The thing is, if we don't build a strong base or a big base, so let's say like we don't care about physical development, which would be not necessarily the right mindset, and our base is this big, well, our pyramid's only going to be that big. But if we build a strong base right around like a lot of those freshmen that are out there, if we build a really strong base, that's where we're going to be able to build a tall pyramid. And of course, the taller the pyramid, the farther your player goes, the better he is as far as his skill work and, things of that nature. So hopefully that helps you out. Let's get back into some other questions. I hit a warning track double. Evan, go check my baseball account. Let's go. Let's go, Alex. Welcome in and welcome back in. It's been a while since I've been doing those coffee and baseballs. But yeah, I'm happy that you joined in here today. Jeanette, we homeschooled. How you help with this 15 sophomore? It's no different really. So homeschooling, if we're talking about like development, there's no different. Like go to the gym and work out, right? There's no difference there. If we're talking about like teams, right? We still want to focus really on the summer side, right? Because the summer is going to be where a lot of things move in the right direction. High school ball, believe it or not, like I had a senior that joined into my program and he didn't make the high school team his senior year. He was able to get 2 offers from schools before he graduated, which I think is awesome, right? So kind of just puts it in perspective. High school ball, it's not the most important thing. So like as far as teams, if you're homeschooled, of course, like summer ball, that's going to be a focus. Recruiting, of course, we still want to send out these emails because we're a sophomore. For those that don't know, August 1st, that's, if that's in your case, Gene, what is that? It's April 1st, roughly. So April, May, June, July, and then August 1st. That's 4 months. If you think that recruiting starts in 4 months, you've been mistaken. Of course, we need to understand how we do the things before August 1st. That tells us if we're going to get an A+. And these are the same concepts that I think it's frustrating, right? Because like these are the same concepts that more than likely parents are communicating to their player, right? So let's go through this example because this is what my parents did, and I feel like a lot of parents do this. If there's a test that you know about for your son, it's a math test, right? Math test. And it's on December 16th, right before Christmas break. Okay? I'm going to start studying December 15th. That's what a lot of you guys are doing in recruiting. And then you wonder why you get a C- on the test. That C- might equate to D3, maybe JUCO. Or worse yet, you're not getting that opportunity to play at that next level. So like if we want to instill the habits, again, these are like all the habits that I like to instill in my students. If we're trying to instill the habit of like, let's be a procrastinator, then like, yeah, sure, do that. Keep waiting, right? Like keep waiting. Guys, the big thing that I want you guys to realize, and I don't say this to be cocky or anything like that. I already played 7 years of pro baseball. I already went through the college recruiting process. I already landed my college baseball scholarship. I studied aerospace engineering. Like, I'm going to be okay. And that also frustrates me also when I hear parents sometimes tell me, I don't want to waste your time. Guys, this is what I do. Whose time are we really wasting? Is it mine or yours? Because again, if we're not doing anything right here and we have the opportunity to build that game plan right here, that's GP, game plan. But we're going to think about it and start right here. What do you think is going to happen to that grade? And of course, we're not talking about a December 16th date. We're talking about August 1st, which is in 4 months for those sophomores. So hopefully that makes sense, and we'll get into that next question. Next year is a sophomore. 15 sophomore in class, 2 days a week. Next year, a sophomore. Okay, so like even next year, a sophomore, with what I just mentioned as far as recruiting, we still need to be focusing on the development side of things. Okay, let's just wait until we want to develop August 1st. When August 1st rolls around, we'll see our EV below average. We'll see our arm velo below average. We'll see our 60 time below average. Do we wait until we're below average, or are we supposed to be more proactive? Do we wait until we have a D- in the class to start taking our grades seriously? Or do we actually just, do the work throughout the semester so that way we're never going to be put in that pigeonholed position where we need to develop in such a short period of time, cramming it in. My son will be in 9th grade next year, so we're talking about an 8th grader, but wanted to go ahead and get the knowledge we need to be ready. Dana Sanchez, you can book a call with me in the link down below in the description. Just know like this is going to be a little bit more of a long-term play for your son, getting some of these resources. So like if your son, like I said in the video or in the slideshow, if you have the question mark on like if your son's actually going to do the work or if he's not serious or whatever the case may be, don't go through the struggles of booking a call and like wasting your guys' time, wasting my time. Like I only work with serious high school baseball players. So like this is the time where it's kind of awkward, right, for the 8th graders about to be in high school. Like the biggest thing, if we're talking about 8th grade and getting to that bridge to over here, which is high school, like yes, we want that transition to be smooth. What my program's really built on is those high school players, there's a bridge into college. That's what my program really is built for. Can it accomplish the same things with having a structured developmental program on the physical side, understanding how to work over mental frameworks to make sure that our mindset's in a good position, having that clarity on what to do on recruiting? Because like I said, in 8th grade, yes, it's a speed bump, but by sophomore year, it's going to be Rushmore. Can we start taking action here and get the ball rolling? So that way, instead of Mount Everest, sophomore or junior year, maybe it turns into, this mountain. And that sounds like a little bit more attainable. So hopefully that makes sense. By the way, I love these diagrams on iPads. I don't know if you guys love them as much as I do, but I think it just helps me a ton because I'm a visual learner. A lot of my students are visual learners. That's why also inside my academy, all of my teaching style is visual. I'm never going to ask my students to read a book and they're going to all of a sudden get better. So Jay McCaffrey, that's what we're trying to avoid. I hear you. My son is a senior. Does he still have time? So Luis, unfortunately, this is kind of the stage where we're not really accepting in seniors right now just because it is very last minute. We have roughly a month and a half until graduation for most schools, most high schools. It's just going to be incredibly difficult. I'd say the right time was, of course, in the rear view mirror. I'm just going to leave it at that because I think a lot of high school baseball parents can relate. You know, waiting this long, it's unfortunate. And that's kind of where those opportunities feel. So like if you're a parent, like, and not to use you as an example, Luis, or put you on the spotlight, right? But if you're in here, I don't want to like necessarily apologize, because like what ultimately happened was there was a delay in some aspect in your high school baseball's journey, right? He's a senior now. Is it still too late? I'm guessing you're asking that basically, or do we still have time? I'm guessing you're asking that because he's probably uncommitted. He probably doesn't know if he's playing college baseball. So for the sophomore, or the parents of the sophomores that are out there, what can we learn from the parents of the freshmen? What can we learn, right? Because more than likely we can learn stuff from other people, just like the same way that when we tell our player, hey, instead of goofing off in the dugout, watch the other batters. Because let's say your son's right here and he gets 4 at-bats. Well, guess what? Batter number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, right, have at-bats as well. Now, let's say, batter 6 is a lefty, batter 4 is a lefty, and batter 8's a lefty. We have 4 at-bats here, 4 at-bats here, 4 at-bats here, 4 at-bats here, 4 at-bats here. So that's 8, 16, is that 8? 16, 24. Jeez. We have 24 at-bats in a game. We can learn from other people, or how the pitcher is attacking, the other right-handed hitters, for example. We can understand, of course, with Luis's situation, what can we learn from other people's situations? Of course, what can you learn from my scars that I've created in the recruiting process? Because I made some, I don't want you to create your own as well. So, of course, if you're interested in working one-on-one with me, click the link down below. Schedule out that eligibility review, and we'll be able to get our process started. Thank you. He'll be young but super dedicated. I'm trying to push him with more tools on the toolbox for him. Yeah, of course. It has to be player driven, of course. Jay McCaffrey, I think we all know that. June. Hey, June. I am a 2028 graduate, 15 years old, from South Korea. Let's go, June. I play shortstop as main and other infields. My right-handed. Okay, so let's do a player profile real quick, since you guys love it. And we'll get this party started. I'm also going to record these. Okay, June. All right, we got June, who's a 2028 grad. As far as position, he mostly plays shortstop, 92 exit velocity, 82 arm velocity, and a 7.360. And then also you have your 30, which is a 411. GPA is a 4.0. Okay, awesome. Obviously, having good education helps you be able to build up and stack scholarship opportunities. We're talking about a 2028 here who's a sophomore. International, it's always fun to be able to realize how big of an impact we're able to make here on social media, which is really cool. I do have 2 students in Japan, but let's go through it. Middle infielder, obviously that's a primary position. 92 exit velocity as a sophomore. That's pretty solid. It's definitely above average, I would say. Again, we don't necessarily want to be average. We would ideally want to be 96-ish. So that way around junior year, so in a year from now, we can get to 98 plus ideally. And that's pretty consistently in practice. It's not consistent in game, guys. Big leaguers average exit velocity is 88 miles an hour, sometimes as high as 92. That's on average in game. It's very difficult to have 100 mile an hour exit velocity every single time you swing the bat. So just keep that in mind. This is in practice, typically maybe off the tee, front flips, coach BP, things like that. Now, arm velocity, if we can track junior year to get 85 and then senior year to 88, we'll be right where we want to be. And of course, building out that that developmental strategy will help you get there. 7.360, it's good. It's not great. If we can track that down below 7 seconds by your senior year, that's going to help you stay in the middle of the infield. Your 30 time, I don't know too much about 30 times, to be honest with you. Having a good GPA is great. So because you're international, the most important thing, if you're trying to play in the States, will always be the recruiting side of things. If you know how to reach out to these college coaches and let them see you, whether it's a fractional evaluation on a highlight video, whatever the case may be, you need to put yourself out there. So that's one of the most important things that I would guide you. It looks like you already have like a baseball specific Instagram, which is always good, because that's how you can get quite literally eyeballs on you. And that's another way, another avenue that I help my students like basically get seen. So just keep that in mind. As far as a level, I would say it's really difficult when we're talking about international, because there are a couple of key aspects on making it easier for these college coaches to evaluate you in person. So if we maybe make one strategic trip, one of my students in Japan actually made a trip to the Dominican, Puerto Rico, and then had a summer season in the States. Of course, that's a huge commitment, but that helped him get seen by college coaches. He's also a right-handed pitcher that's like topping 90 right now. I worked with him when he was in 8th grade, and like it's really cool to see his growth. But I would say like confidently, I can say like maybe a D2 just from like where we're currently at. And of course, it's very difficult with the international side of things and with that commitment. So if we don't make that commitment and make it, potentially in person for these coaches to be able to evaluate, it is going to be a little bit more difficult. So you did go to a couple of showcases last year, emailed some coaches. I really want to play D1 baseball. So like, yes, you're doing the right things. Of course, making sure that you're tracking these emails, like, maybe you saw in the video. Tracking is one of the ways that we can optimize what we're doing in the recruiting side of things. So yeah, let me know if you agree down below in the comments. And of course, if you're interested in working one-on-one with me, comment the word college down below. And when I say comment the word college down below, guys, just click the link in my bio on Instagram, apply if that makes sense, if that's something that you guys are interested in. Cool. Let's see if we have any other questions. It looks like we had a couple come through. Yo, Connor, how we doing? B Minark, I think I already did you I already did your player profile. It might be published here shortly. How do you have a system for tracking emails for college coaches? How do you know if the emails links are being read and opened? So let me actually just go ahead and pull this up again, because maybe you missed it. So I had like the whole webinar. And by the way, Rockstar Mama NYC, did you see the tracking that we had? Because if not, I'll just go ahead and pull it up. So like we track who's opening, who's clicking, and who's responding. Because obviously this is critical to understand how we're tracking these emails. Let me just pull this up. This will also help anyone that has any curiosity on what my program is and how it actually is being delivered to my students. So let me pull this up. Okay. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. This will help you get some clarity, NYC.
Hey guys, Evan Mendoza here. If you give me a quick second, I'm going to walk through my exact program, the triple play, so you know exactly what it looks like and how everything works before we meet together. So as far as the welcome 14-day challenge, so this is ideally the must-watch later video, laying expectations and rules. But as far as the step 1, step 2, and everything like that, what that looks like is basically the 14-day document. Your son's going to be able to like make a copy and do all that fun stuff, so that way he's able to check in with everything and keep tabs on where he's at. Of course, I'll have access to this document as well. Your son's going to join into the Slack community, which I'll cover here in a second. He's going to do a couple of tasks before he schedules his onboarding call. Onboarding call is quite literally a Zoom call that we're about to hopefully be speaking. Your son's also going to do daily sprint work, and the idea of this is about 15 minutes a day, just building that consistency, so that way we can actually get that momentum going in the right direction. As far as building out the outreach system, so it's one of my favorite parts about the whole program, but basically we have this email template. Your son's going to fill that out and basically send it back over to me. I'll also proofread everything, which is really important that your son sounds like a baseball player. Also, the college list, that's something that I help out with as well. You'll basically go through this process, and one of the best things that we do is when we actually send out these emails, as you can see, we can see if they've clicked opened. If it hasn't been opened, we can of course reattempt. If they responded, that's one of my favorite parts about the whole program. And of course, we're going to install that same template for your son as well.
So hopefully that gives you some clarity. Who was that? Rockstar Mama NYC. So yeah, that's obviously like a huge part of what we install for each of our students to make sure that it actually we have the correct and accurate tracking, because it's the same way. Like, guys, if you know what your batting average is, if you're hitting 450 on the season as far as your average, we're not going to necessarily change stuff, right? But we know the data, right? We know the performance stat, right? That's the same thing as open rate, click rate, things like that. Those are stats. If our average, on the other hand, is $120, maybe we need to make some changes. But either way, we know these numbers. So like when our click-through rate is below average, we will make a change. When our open rate is below average, we'll make changes, right? So like if we don't have the data to actually make informed decisions, it's going to be off of feel. And I'm not a feel type of person. I'm a very data-driven, analytical person. I studied aerospace engineering, for goodness sakes. That's why I am who I am and how I go about it. But yeah. Yeah, A Earns. Go ahead and just like drop your metrics down below if you want a player profile. Don't wait. That's what Jane said. Dana Sanchez, I agree. We have started having these conversations with him about goals, etc. Right now, he's absolutely dedicated and ready to do the work. He is actually listening in. Awesome. So like I don't know, Dana. Talk to me. I don't know what grade's your son in. I don't know if I saw Dana. My son is in 9th grade next year. So yeah, I mean, if your son's in 8th grade right now, like he is technically eligible to work with me inside my program. So yeah, I mean, watch the video that's on, in the link in my bio. Apply if it makes sense. Like I'm not gonna force you guys to do anything you guys don't want to do, but of course, like I do work with dedicated 8th graders that, I mean, from what you're telling me, very dedicated, serious, ready to do the work. Those are the types of players that I like to work with because, of course, those are the players that will get the results more often. Of course, all of this has to be player driven, right, guys? Like we all know this. Sometimes we don't like other people saying it. Sometimes we also want someone to like just do it for us. Yeah, that's not gonna be the thing that actually moves the needle at the end of the day. You have to actually do the thing, whatever the thing is. I jumped in late. Thank you so much for reviewing. Absolutely. Did also? Okay, cool. Yeah, so that was part. And by the way, guys, I see that you're on. I see you're on YouTube, Rockstar Moment NYC. This recording will be uploaded to YouTube. So just look for. It's going to be called the Mendoza Line, episode 51, on my Instagram, or sorry, my YouTube. So that's why, like, if you're listening over on YouTube, if you're listening in over on Instagram, head over to YouTube because that's where the recording will always be. So just keeping that in mind. Let's go. Yeah, June, sending out emails. That's awesome, dude, because obviously that work ethic is translating not only like with what you're doing on the physical side, but also on the recruiting side. Sandra Valdez, good morning. How do we search for true trainers for batting and pitching? Google's a start, right? But so that's kind of the thing, guys. Like with these local trainers, what are we really trying to get out of it? What are we trying to get out of, having a trainer? Like, what is it really? Are we just looking for like someone to help him learn how to hold the bat? And also, like, Sandra Valdez, if you're still in here, let me know a little bit more about like what grade your player's in, because like that helps me give context. That's why I do these lives, to make sure that I give you guys the best guidance rather than like blanket statement that you'll typically find on social media. A lot of these like 3-second videos, you have to do this, or recruiting is so easy, just do this. It's like, no, guys, it's not. And I'm here to like give you that transparency. But if you give me some context, that will help me, because like, for example, if Sandra, if your son is let's say a sophomore or junior, like I think he needs to be his own best coach rather than learning from another coach. And when I say learning from another coach, I mean like going to another hitting coach isn't going to solve the issue at hand as far as him taking the initiative or ownership in his career. It's also not going to help him understand that like if he wants to reach out to these college coaches, you need to start doing that process, right? So if you're going to a hitting coach expecting these values to be driven home to him, that might be where you get a little bit frustrated, because unfortunately that's not going to be what is given in these 1-hour lessons once a week, right? Like that's not going to move the needle. And also like who's the one driving to these hitting lessons, right? Who's the one that actually really wants to go? And like, yes, he might want to go, but is he doing the work outside of that hitting lesson to show to you that he's really willing to do this, right? So just a couple of things that I think are interesting, right? And I don't see any other comments, so maybe they dropped off. But is social media an important piece? Absolutely. So we have a couple of different avenues, right? We can email college coaches. We can send one piece of content out to millions of people. And I say millions of people, guys, because we typically generate every single month over, I think it's 2 million impressions every single month. The Mendoza Baseball Academy's Instagram page alone. We also post on TikTok. We also post on X. We also post on YouTube. So like we use social media to reach you guys. Of course, like we're right here talking, and of course I'm happy you came across for this live, and I'm happy you guys are spending time with me here today. But yeah, social media is huge. It's a great way from the seat of your pants right now to be able to get some of that exposure you and your son are ultimately looking for. So yeah, social media is important. It's an area that I teach some of my students with having some social media guidance and kind of like a crash course on how to edit videos, how to post, how to have a strategy behind that. And yes, very, very important, Jay McCaffrey. With that being said, I've seen so many parent ran accounts. Again, if you're running the account, are you the one that you want your son to get the recruiting, or the scholarship, or is he the one? Now, I get it. You don't want your son to be using phones and this and that, whatever. You don't want him to be posting whatever. I get that. Well, then just wait until, of course, he is of age, where he's going to be able to craft his own videos. You can trust him with a phone, things like that. If it's coming from the parent, I've gotten so many icks recently on social media. Number one probably is kind of what I already mentioned to you guys, is like this brain rotting, content on Instagram that you just scroll. Everyone's attention span is getting just shot. And I think also a lot of people think like, oh, recruiting's easy. Oh, all you have to do is step 1, step 2, and step 3, and you're going to throw 90 miles an hour, right? Like those are the type of videos that I see on like my baseball feed, and I'm sure that you parents out there probably can relate, because you see videos very similar. All you have to do is, and it's like, it's not so simple. And if it was, everyone would do it, right? Everyone would play pro baseball, and that's why you see very little players like myself. There's a couple out there, but like you see very little players like myself that have actually walked the walk and can talk the talk, right? I played 7 years of professional baseball, went through the college recruiting process, landed multiple D1 offers, and got to choose where I wanted to play in college. Also was in a World Baseball Classic in 2023 representing Colombia. So not many players out there on social media that maybe do something similar can say those things. And if they can, awesome. Maybe you should listen to them if they have a program that actually is getting what you guys are looking for. Like I said, kind of with the example though, this is something that I think is valuable within my triple play program. So like we have the physical, we have the mental, we have the recruiting, right? So let's walk through it, because like a lot of you guys will go to the physical hitting coach and expect the world. If we're neglecting mental, we might be throwing helmets, we might have terrible body language, whatever the case. If we're not focusing on recruiting, that's going to be where, we might be a good player, but we're invisible, right? That's not going to be good. A lot of the times families will usually invest in like 2 of these and then basically complain about the last one, right? And some people would be like, oh, what's the best of all? Ideally that's why I've created the triple play, because we focus on all 3 of these. But let's say you focus on physical and mental. You're a great player, you have a great mindset, but then you're invisible. But let's say we focus on physical and the recruiting, but again, we throw our helmet, we have terrible body language. College coaches don't want to recruit that type of player, and that player gets their name crossed off of the list. But let's say we focus on, the mental and the recruiting, but then we don't have the metrics to actually match up with the competition of where our graduation year is and where we should be. So these are the things that I think are just incredibly important. And of course, I want you to be able to understand these things for yourself and become your own best coach, like I've told you so many times, guys. All right, so let's see. We have a couple of players doing some player profiles. I'll do those batched here in a second. Dalen, welcome in. The way I hit better is using ChatGPT. That's an interesting approach. AJ, yeah, just go ahead and put your numbers down below. What is the window of time when 2027 can verbally commit? So technically, August 1st is 2027. Right now, like anyone can verbally commit right now. Verbal commits don't mean as much right now, though, Jason, because he's already passed. August 1st was in the rear view window. Like you guys are right here. Like on those maps in the mall. You're here, right? So you're here. Hopefully that makes sense. So you're here. August 1st is in the past, right? After August 1st, like that's when you can commit. Verbal commits, like it's an interesting thing, right? Because college coaches are not supposed to offer players before August 1st. That's where, like, if you're a really good talent, you're going to be in possibly the right room where a coach knows who you are and maybe does something shady, right? Are you going to love this as a parent? Absolutely, right? Because you're going to be like, oh my goodness, Tennessee's coach wants my son to verbally commit, and he's only a sophomore. Is he breaking the rules right now? Like, oh my goodness, Tennessee. It's one of the best programs. Like, right? Like, you're going to love that as a parent. Is that technically breaking the rules as far as the NCAA regulations? Like, yes, be careful of those things. Why are they trying to do that? Maybe to block out some other opportunities for you. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, verbal commitments used to be a thing of the past, but like verbal commitments technically like don't really exist post August 1st. And if someone says, yeah, I verbally committed, that just basically tells me that like you're in the works of actually signing the paperwork, but the paperwork has not been signed. So you're counting your chicken, or you're counting your eggs before they hatch, right? Or you're counting your chickens before they egg? No. You know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, we don't want to like false represent the status of where we're at in the timeline of recruiting and the commitment. The commitment is eliminating all other alternatives. A verbal commit doesn't do that. An actual commitment where you're signing some papers, you're signing your national letter of intent, the NLI. These are all things that basically fully lock in, that commitment. If that makes sense. That locks it in. The actual commitment. A verbal commitment, 2027, like technically it's a thing, but it's really not. It's just a fancy way of saying we're in communication with a coach. They haven't taken that leap to fully commit me or offer a scholarship, and it's still pending. So it's kind of like an escrow, if that makes sense. But yeah, let's do. We're gonna record some player profiles right now, and I need to scroll up to. We're gonna start with A. Hearns. A. Hearns. Ian. So I'm assuming your name is Ian, and we'll start from there. All right, we got Ian, who's a 20-30 catcher with an exit velocity of 88, arm velocity of 72, and a 60 of 7.7. What level can this player play at? So it really depends, because we are talking about a 20-30, which is an 8th grader. So we have quite literally 4 years to project out on where these players are going to be playing at. So what I like to do is kind of segment out where we're going to be 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade with these metrics, arm velocity, exit velocity, and 60 times. So 7.7 is not great right now, but of course we are a catcher. It's not the most priority for us to be quick. But college coaches, of course, always love athletes. So if we can get that down to like a 7.5, a 7.3, a 7.1, and then maybe like a 6.9 even, like that's going to be good enough for you being a catcher. Now, arm velocity, this is where, like, of course, arm velocity is going to have a direct correlation with your pop time. So if we can get that like basically up to like 74, 78, 80, 83, that's going to help your pop time get down to like that 1.8, 1.9, which is definitely going to put you in that conversation. Being a catcher, also, you want to be a great defensive catcher first, more than like your exit velocity, arm velocity, or any of these numbers, because if you can control a pitching staff, that's going to be one of your best assets that college coaches will always want at the higher levels. Exit velocity 88 as an 8th grader is pretty solid. So like, again, like if we can go to 92, 95, 98, 100 plus, like that's really going to help the cause for creating that conversation and making sure that you have a potential to play at that whatever university. So instead of going based off of where your numbers are at right now, if we can hit some of these trajectories and how we can set goals throughout this timeline, throughout high school baseball, and really if we're able to get that 100 mile an hour exit velocity, if we're able to get like 83 arm velocity, a 6.9 60, and also if our pop time, let's say for example, is around like a 1.85, like in my opinion, assuming the other variables that are very hard to control based off of just a numerical approach, if you're able to frame, if you're able to receive, if you're able to, catch and throw, if you're able to call a great game, assuming so many different variables, that's where I say you have all the potential as far as the numbers to play D1, but it's really the IQ and the mentality that catchers need to have to showcase these things to college coaches. Let me know if you agree down below in the comments, and comment the word college down below if you're ready to work one-on-one with me. When I say comment down below, guys, I really mean just if you're on Instagram, click the link, the first link down below in the description. If you're on Instagram, you can comment the word college on any of my posts. I was just recording that for an Instagram reel, or you can just click the link in my Instagram bio to get that process started. Let's do another one. Hopefully you guys like these iPad demonstrations as well, because I definitely do, and I'm not stopping. Ian Aherns. I think Ian. I just did you. Oh, you had 2 different accounts. Oh, you did it on Instagram and YouTube. Gotcha. You should have been representing Columbia this year, so I stopped playing. So, I just didn't want to. Would you rather play D1, bench, or D2 starter? I really hate that question. So I've answered that so many times, guys. The mindset is just really frustrating with that question. It's like a guarantee that you're going to just start at that D2. That's not how it works. All right, we got Bradley, who's a 2029 first base left-handed pitcher, 77 from the mound, 72 in 77, and then 72, 89 exit velocity, and then 7.860. Where do you think I'll stand? So yeah, we're talking about a freshman here, first base left-handed pitcher. That really pigeonholes you to first base at the next level, any outfield or being a pitcher. So potentially going in the direction of being an outfielder probably doesn't make the most sense right now because your 60 time isn't the best. And ideally we want to be able to have the ability to be an athlete out there on the in the outfield. As far as your exit velocity, as a freshman, 89, it's not terrible. I've had some freshmen in like the upper 90s freshman year. So how quickly can we get there is the main question. If we can go from 92 to 95 to 98, that by senior year, that would be ideal. So that way we're on the trajectory of getting seen. Now, if we can get here sooner, that's going to open so many doors for you. It is ridiculous. As far as around 77, 72 arm velocity, since you're a left-handed pitcher, I've had times where I've seen Division I lefties that are starting pitchers that are absolutely disgusting because they can throw 85, but not just because they can throw 85. It's because they have so many different pitches that they can land for strikes. They can command. They have the pitch ability, not just the throw ability. I just made that word up. As far as your 60 time, if you're trying to be a left-handed pitcher, doesn't matter. Since you're a first baseman also, again, doesn't really matter because you're more of that corner position. We want to be able to have that strong power or power in the arm. So based off these numbers, very difficult because we have about 4 years to develop, around 3 years actually to develop. So I would say with where we're currently at, just exit velocity kind of a little bit below average right now. Arm velocity, I would say a significant amount below average. I would say probably around that D2, D3 level. Let me know if you agree down below in the comments and comment the word college if you want to work one-on-one with me. Cool. All right, we're going to get Wyatt here. We got Ian. How many emails should I be sending out when I get to my freshman year going into sophomore year? I would say it depends, right? So I instruct my students to do batches of 20. And these batches of 20 are typically at least twice or 3 times in a month. Once every other week, roughly. So roughly every month would be around 40 new schools. Once we get to a stage where we've emailed so many schools at least once, that's where we're going to hit the retargeting side of things, which is the strategic follow-up with the system that I've built out for all my students. So that way we can track the metrics of what's actually happening and the engagement level of each email. So of course, very, very important that we get that ball rolling. So we have that ability to, track all of the important things. Cool. Does 60 time actually matter because you're not running 60 straight yards in baseball? I don't love it as much. I made a video on this. I like the 5-10-5. It's just a lot more telling on what kind of athlete you are. So let's go. Okay, let's get it. Guys, if you have any baseball-related questions, feel free to ask them down below. All right, we got Wyatt, who's a 2027 grad, first base, third base, right-handed pitcher, 79 to 80 arm velocity, 93 exit velocity, and a 7.860. So this is the biggest concern just right off the gate. Considering you're a 2027, you're a junior, we want to get this down sub 7 seconds as soon as humanly possible. So I'm curious if you're doing any sprint and agility work. If you're on a structured program, these are the things that are going to move the needle the most for you in this department, which ideally we want to be as athletic as possible. Now, as far as you being more of a corner position, 60 time doesn't really matter as much. Now, of course, if you had a 7.860, that can be okay, but your exit velocity, in my opinion, has to be 100 plus off the tee with a wood bat to compensate that lack of 60 time. That would tell me that you have the power, you have the hand speed to be able to do that. Now, as far as the arm velocity, again, if we can rotate at 100 miles an hour plus here, we should be able to rotate the same way here and be able to get that arm velocity maybe around like 88. Again, 60 time wouldn't matter as much. So again, if we can get to these numbers, that's going to be helpful. But since we're a junior, we have about 1 full year to make these changes. I would say, exit velocity, kind of a little bit below average, but I would say probably average to like that D3 level. Right now with the arm velocity, it is significantly lower than where we need it to be to really get conversations for like a D1 or even a D2. And 60 time, it is below average, not necessarily compared to like the first baseman and third baseman, but we want to be an athlete. So I would say pretty confidently we can go around like that D2, D3, probably leaning closer to that D3 if we stay stagnant with the development of some of these metrics. If we improve these metrics the way that we know that we can, then, of course, we're maybe looking at that D2. Let me know if you agree down below in the comments and comment the word college if you want to work one-on-one with me. Ian, yes, my program does cost money. Yes. Or Bera. By the way, like on my website, I have a bunch of like frequently asked questions for the parents, for the players that do have questions on like how things work and things of that nature. If you are a player watching this video right now, go grab your parents, go watch that video that's on my website so they can be in the loop. Because one of the worst things that you can do as a player is just like sign up for something and then not tell your parents, and of course they get up, frustrated and everything. Of course, the application to work together is completely free. It's risk-free, but of course I want to make sure that they know what's going on, and you should want them to know as well. So let's get it. All right, we got Orbarnia, 99. We got a class of 2029 right-handed pitcher. DH, 76 to 78 off the mound. 90 off the tee, 7.5, 60. What level? So 2029, we're talking about a ninth grader here. Right-handed pitcher DH, so that means maybe your glove is just horrendous. I really don't know. But let's just say that you're a right-handed pitcher. If you are a right-handed pitcher, 60 time doesn't matter as much. Let's say that if you're just a DH, like your exit velocity has to be so much higher to be a DH. So that's kind of confusing, right? So yeah, maybe glove isn't necessarily in the equation, but let's say if you're a right-handed pitcher, your arm velocity, if you're a PO, you're a freshman, I mean, I don't like how you're a DH at your freshman year. Like, we need to learn how to play defense because that's going to be a skill set that you need to have at the next level. Because once you pigeonhole yourself as a PO, or worse, you have like a DH, guys, there's not really such things as DHs in college, unfortunately. You have to be able to play defense. That's just one of the biggest things. You have to. 60 time, if we can track that down sub 7 by senior year, arm velocity has the biggest growth that we need to do. 10 miles an hour in the next 3 years. It's not impossible. But of course, like freshman year, I would say on average, a lot of the higher end students that work with me are around like low 80s. So we could definitely be improved there. 90 isn't terrible as a freshman, but I've had students, in their freshman year in the upper 90s off the tee with a wood bat. So like, can we track that close to 100 in the next 3 years? I think that's pretty possible. Again, there's so much of a gap since we're talking about a freshman. So as far as a level, I don't really know. I'm not a genie. I don't know. I can't predict the future. But I would say if you have the right development to get you where these numbers need to be, especially as a right-handed pitcher, the playing profile kind of confuses me, right, with the being a DH, not possibly having a glove. And then also, if you are a DH, we want to have that exit velocity a lot higher than where it is right now. So I would say pretty comfortably around D3 right now, just mostly around the positions. And that's something that I think it's really important. When we're reaching out to these college coaches, how you label yourself tells so much about who you are and what you bring to your team. So let me know if you agree down below in the comments, and comment the word college if you want to work with me. All right, what if starting late junior first baseman, third hand, 2027 grad? Okay, let's go through it. That's why we're here. I'm gonna put just Lindsay because I'm guessing you're talking about your son. All right. All right, we got Lindsay's son, who is a 2027. Exit velocity is 85. Arm velocity is 80. 60 is a 7.3. He's a corner infielder, right-handed pitcher. What if we think we're starting too late? Do you think this is still recruitable with such a short window? So we are in our junior year. We have about 14 months left until graduation, give or take. So what level can we play at? And most importantly, are we too late? So in my opinion, no, you're never too late. I've worked with seniors before. After getting cut by their high school team in February with 0 offers, and we were able to generate 2 offers by the time he graduated. And he had that plan of playing in college. So it's never too late. Of course, it's more of a mindset on how you feel if it's too late or not. But we are in our junior year with some of these numbers. Let's kind of break it down. So corner infielder, we're definitely going to want to have a little bit more of a power profile with our exit velocity. We do want this to be ideally 95 plus since we're talking about a junior year. And that's current. Like we would want it to be currently at 95, not projecting to next year. Arm velocity, yes, definitely needs some improvement there as far as wanting to get probably closer to like 86 because third base is one of the longer throws as well. So like we want to make sure that we have the ability to have, good angles, cutting good angles in the infield, relying a lot less on our arm and making sure that, of course, if we have a good glove, that helps with the arm as well. 60 times, since we're a corner infielder, doesn't matter as much, but coaches always like to see sub 7 just to show that you are, of course, an athlete. So with where we're currently right now, I'd say the biggest area is really not necessarily like these numbers. I would be curious on what your son's doing in the gym on his development side of things, because if we're rotating technically our core, right? Because when we throw the ball, we have to rotate. When we hit the ball, we have to rotate, right? So when we're rotating here and here with our arm velocity and exit velocity, we want to make sure that we're training it in the gym with correct movements as far as our development goes. So that's where both of these are a little bit concerning. The 60 time, that's just doing sprint work, of course, that I give to my students that is going to be able to track down below 7 seconds, ideally in the next couple of months. But these are the things that take a little bit more time in building that foundation. So to answer your quick question, is it too late? No, but as far as to gain some of these metrics, like I've had some of my students gain 10 miles an hour of exit velocity, which ideally is exactly what we were trying to do in 3 or 4 months with the right guidance, with the right structure. As far as arm velocity, sometimes as much as like 4 or 5, 6, 7 miles an hour in, 4 or 5 months. So if we can get to like 87, 88 by the time of, senior season, it's definitely going to be putting your son in the best position to be able to play. I would say if you haven't done anything on the recruiting side either, that's where I'd probably feel more comfortable with the D2, D3, probably leaning towards D3 right now. Of course, if we can, with right now, if we can get right here, that's where I think we would be closer to that D2. Let me know if you agree down below in the comments. And if you're interested in working one-on-one with me, comment the word college down below. Also, Lindsay, if you're interested in getting some of these resources, you can always click the link in the YouTube description, the very first one. It's going to be an explainer video. And then, of course, if you want to apply, you can definitely go ahead and do that if it makes sense. But yeah, I'm right now, actually, to answer your question probably in the most direct way, right now I'm working with exclusively like 2027s and 2028s. So just keep that in mind. Kevin, you got an offer from a JUCO school? Let's go. Can I work with a 7th grader? So no, unfortunately not right now, Tiffany. I actually just had, and don't be this type of parent, by the way. Oh my goodness. So I joined into a call. It was interesting. It was a couple of days ago. Looked up the player on Perfect Game before the call. It said that they were in 9th grade. The application also came through. The parent selected 9th grade. Show up to the call. Yeah, my son's in 7th grade. And I just like... So for those that don't know, if you try to book a call, I'll just do it right now so you guys know exactly what it looks like. But this was just like frustrating, right? Because it's like core competencies that we are just showing that we are not capable of. It is frustrating. But anyway, this is my website. You can go to it, of course, click the link in my bio on Instagram or click the link down below in the description. It's probably going to take you to this page, if anything. So, of course, like watch this video if you want to learn a little bit more about like what's going on. Of course, like what my program is the triple play with the physical, mental, and the recruiting. I played with the Cardinals and Padres. If you want to see if your son qualifies, typically this is what that one dad did. So he, what grade is the athlete in? Younger. we're not the right fit right now. Like, so don't be that parent that goes through that process and then does that, because like, what is that really gonna do, other than just waste both of our time? So yeah, I was pretty frustrated when like, okay, you wanted to talk to me for what reason, right? So like, seventh graders right now, no, and the reason for that is because I want to make sure it's actually like going to benefit you with the time inside my mentorship program. My mentorship program is not for everyone, so don't think that it is. It's for those serious high school baseball players who know exactly what they want and nothing's going to get in the way, and also for an opportunity for your son to actually take that accountability for his own career. Seventh grade, like, there's so much more parent involvement at that younger age, so that's the reason why I don't do that. So hopefully that gives you some insights. We're gonna do one more player profile after this one, because we're gonna be logging off here in about 8 minutes. So if you want your player profile to be done, which is what we're doing right here, drop your numbers, drop your metrics, everything that I need to know to do a player profile for you. And I'm only gonna be doing one more, so whatever the next one that comes through will be the one that I do. All right, we got Kyle. I don't know if I'm saying that right. 2029 utility right-handed pitcher. 84 off the tee, 88 outfield velo, 82 off the mound, and then 7.6, 60. What level? So first and foremost, okay, very, very important. I know it's Instagram. Maybe you fat-fingered and maybe had a typo. You didn't put the right abbreviations for utility or right-handed pitcher. Now, if you were emailing a college coach, for example, and you put those positions, right, for utility, you put UTILL/RPH. If you did that, if I'm a college coach, I am not reading I'm not taking another second to read your specific email, because knowing how to abbreviate your positions tells me so much more about you than like anything in the world. You want to label yourself how the professionals would label themselves. And if you're a utility player at the big league level, it's UTL. If you're a right-handed pitcher, it's RHP. It's as simple as that. So like, these are things that matter to these college coaches as far as the attention to detail. Anyway, also, if you're labeling yourself as a utility player and you're a freshman already, it also tells me that you don't have a position, which typically college coaches want to see that you're a right-handed pitcher or a shortstop or a center fielder. These are the more athletic positions that are typically the better off where you're going to be. As far as your exit velocity, freshman year, 84 miles an hour, I'd say that's pretty below average. I would say average for the above average player that I'm looking to work with and actually has potential to go like D1, average would probably be closer to 90 around freshman year. Now, for your average high school baseball player, yeah, it's like 84, but like, I don't want you to be average, because average doesn't even make it to D3 in my opinion. Arm velocity, if you're at 88, let me just double check that. Arm velocity was 88 from the outfield. That's right. So you have that momentum. That's actually really solid for a ninth grader. 82 off the mound. Like, dude, keep tracking in the right direction as far as your arm, because if you're on pace for like 95 by senior year, that will get looks. So try to develop that one skill as well as you possibly can, so that way you can get your foot in the door. And of course, if you do one thing right, college coaches will notice. Your 60 time, again, if you're being a utility player, think about like a Tommy Edman, someone that can play all over the place. Mookie Betts is technically a utility player. He plays center field, shortstop, great athlete. 60 time is kind of like pro scouts and college coaches, their definition on how athletic you are. I don't think it's necessarily the most accurate thing, but it is. So I would say with where we're currently at, we still have 3 years to get to our senior year. So we have a lot of time to develop the right way or to stagnate and hit plateaus. So I would say just a super simple, and like, again, I'm not here to tell the future, because that's not what I do, but I would say D2 plus or minus 1 division level, right? Because I don't know what these next 3 years are going to look like for you. If you develop the right way and really develop out your arm, I'd say you could probably go D1 as like a right fielder, a center fielder, depending on what your 60 time is, depending on so many other variables. So let me know if you agree down below in the comments, and comment the word college if you want to work with me. All right, so I really appreciate everything. I'll definitely be hopping on this program once I'm a freshman. Aherns, I thought you were in 8th grade. Maybe I'm wrong. I do work with 8th graders, by the way. It's just on occasion. So like, yeah, you're a 2030 grad. Like, yeah, I think I had a 2030 grad join in a couple weeks ago. It is not necessarily the most active time. Like I said, typically I'll work with probably sophomores most often, freshmen second most, juniors third most, seniors fourth most, and probably eighth graders fifth most. And I have the data to see all that. Tamaron, how we doing, my man? Thanks for joining in. Hey, Evan, how do you feel about victory insoles? I've been hearing a bunch about those eyewash. So a lot of my teammates would wear those. Some of them loved them. Some of them hated them. I just don't see it. Like it's something that, like, if it's more of a comfort thing, yes, but is it a performance thing? Just like the way that we like wore those fighting necklaces a good decade ago, was it a performance thing, or was it a looks thing, or was it a feeling thing? Was it a mental confidence thing? I think it's always interesting to, and this is the last thing I'll kind of bring up, but guys, if it gives you confidence, do it, right? If it makes you feel better, do it. I'll never forget the story that I heard about the Los Angeles Dodgers, because obviously a lot of organizations look up to them because they do a lot of things right. As far as the player personnel, the staff, they just do things the right way. And I played with a teammate in AA that was with the Dodgers, and he said the first day that he went up and made his debut with the Dodgers, not necessarily debut, but he played on other big league teams as well. I'm blanking on the name. But he's with the Cardinals one year, and he's doing a rehab with us. But he was told by the Dodgers team and teammates, hey, if it makes you feel better, do it. If it's going to make you play better, do it. No one cares how weird it looks or anything like that. All we care about is you feeling good about yourself and doing whatever makes you happy. No one's going to give you a hard time on, think about Yamamoto. He's literally throwing darts as his warm-up routine. No one's going to give him a hard time as long as he, of course, produces results, helps the team win. And of course, like, those are things that we saw in the World Series. No one's going to give you a hard time about those things. I thought that was interesting because not every professional organization acts that way, which is unfortunate. Not to name names, but like you could probably assume, you know. But yeah, the Dodgers just always did things right, and that's where, like, if it makes you feel better, makes you play better, do the thing. Don't think too much. If you're already thinking, Tamaron, Fanta, if you're already thinking that it's eyewash, then you're probably going to be out there on, you know, in the diamond, in the batter's box, thinking about, oh, these stupid insults. They're not doing. Just leave it at home then, right? I don't want your mind to be anywhere else other than actually performing. So, with that being said, guys, this has been one of the best Mendoza lines I think we've ever done. Roughly 2 hours in length, so that is super exciting. Also for the ones that, you know, stuck around so long, I appreciate you getting a chance to know me and who I am and what I do and how I help my players out inside my program. Guys, if you are a parent of a high school baseball player who's actually serious about getting these resources, developing at the next level, and you know, of course, getting seen by these college coaches, go ahead, comment the word college on any reel or like any of my Instagram posts. But also, you can click the link in my bio on Instagram, or if you're on YouTube, click the first link down below. Watch that video. It'll explain, you know, who I am, what my program is all about, if you need that, and then you'll be prompted to schedule a call. So go through that process if it makes sense. And with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one.
Questions to you, I could see how he became more confident after talking to you every time. You are always there when he needs. I think it's really important to know or be told from someone professional like you.
Which was a completely new experience for us. I think we were skeptical. We dove into some of the content. We realized how good it was and the quality of it. The way that you kind of worked with him and you set expectations for him, like, hey, these are the things I'm expecting from you, and that was a big part of why we enjoyed the program as well.
The program has made me like a little eagerness to go out and do something and not just like wait for the team practice and do things on my own.
As his dad, I can tell him till I'm blue in the face that this needs to be done. And sometimes it doesn't resonate coming from the dad. Sometimes it needs to come from a pro ball player.
Through your program, I just realized like how much more I could learn. I could just feel the improvement over the course like of 4 or 5 months, like you said. With you being able to supply me with this type of structure, I'm able to just learn for myself and learn how to improve by myself, which makes me feel a lot better as well as a lot more accomplished in the end.
I definitely recommend joining it. It's awesome. The community's great. Having you there to support you is incredible, and overall love the program.
You know, you get the full structure. You get your lifting, you know, you get your arm velocity, you get your mechanics, you get your hitting, and you know, the hands-on approach from you.
Infield velo was 68. 68 or something like that. It was not good. My 60-yard dash was 7.7, which is not good. And I was not very mobile. I wasn't very strong. I mean, I'm a big kid, but a lot of it was just like from my size. My infield velo now is 80, and my 6-yard dash is 7.0.
It's insane. What was the root cause for all that?
I mean, it was just staying consistent with the program. I think just I had to really stay on, like focus on the path that I was trying to get. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to become elite. I was trying to get better. I know the stats at the time. I was like, oh yeah, that's not that bad. But going back and looking, that's not kind of where I should be to play at the next level. Staying consistent with the program really helped me through that time.
I feel like now I'm really like dialed in into what I'm doing. So when I do it, it's just like this before, like you talked about earlier, like it's just coming in natural.
It felt good. I mean, it gave me my confidence shot up. I think you should join in. You do a really good job of replying back to messages, and you're really fast to help out other people with like coaching and their swings. You're a pretty good coach.
Hitting improved, touching improved, velocity went up, speed went up, everything in general went up. Before joining, I tracked my 60 time and I was running a 8.22, and then after a while, I did a showcase, and then I ran a 7.08.
What do you think leading cause for that? That's crazy jump.
Probably mobility and probably the exercises that you have in your academy that allow for growth in those little tiny muscles that people forget about.
I could tell I was hitting the ball a little bit harder, and then it got better and better and better, and then my speed picked up with the sprinting training and all that, and I was just getting a lot better. But before that, it was not super good. I've definitely picked up on my hitting velo. Before I joined the program, my velo was 72 off the bat, and at this showcase, I hit 80.
That's insane, dude.
No, so when I first saw your program, you were talking about how to get to college and how to get D1 and get recruited and all this, and that had me super interested because I'm trying to go D1 and everything, try to get a scholarship and all this, and your program definitely talks about it and helps you walk through it and get you started. Honestly, I would say like the program definitely helped me a lot. Helped me work through some things, get my visualization for games and all that, just get me prepared.
Obviously, like my program's remote. Like, have you had any trouble by doing the work that I provide you?
Not at all. It's right in front of you. So it's super easy to get. Search it up, find it, and start working.
Can give him guidance, and he can always ask questions to you. I could see how he became more confident after talking to you every time. You are always there when he needs. I think it's really important to know or be told from someone professional like you.
Which was a completely new experience for us. I think we were skeptical. We dove into some of the content. We realized how good it was and the quality of it. The way that you kind of worked with him and you set expectations for him. It was like, hey, these are the things I'm expecting from you, and that was a big part of why we enjoyed the program as well.
The program has made me like a little eagerness to go out and do something and not just like wait for the team practice and do things on my own.
As his dad, I can tell him till I'm blue in the face that this needs to be done. And sometimes it doesn't resonate coming from the dad. Sometimes it needs to come from a pro ball player.
Through your program, I just realized like how much more I could learn. You can just feel the improvement over the course like of 4 or 5 months, like you said. With you being able to supply me with this type of structure, I'm able to just learn for myself and learn how to improve by myself, which makes me feel a lot better as well as a lot more accomplished in the end.
I definitely recommend joining it. It's awesome. The community's great. Having you there to support you is incredible, and overall love the program.
You get the full structure. You get your lifting, you get your arm velocity, you get your mechanics, you get your hitting, and the hands-on approach from you.
Infield velo was 68 or something like that. It was not good. My 60-yard dash was 7.7, which is not good. And I was not very mobile. I wasn't very strong. I mean, I'm a big kid, but a lot of it was just like from my size. My infield velo now is 80, and my 6-yard dash is 7.0.
It's insane. What was the root cause for all that?
I mean, it was just staying consistent with the program. I think just I had to really stay on, like focus on the path that I was trying to get. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to become elite. I was trying to get better. I know the stats at the time. I was like, oh yeah, that's not that bad. But going back and looking, that's not kind of where I should be to play at the next level. Staying consistent with the program really helped me through that time.
I feel like now I'm really like dialed in into what I'm doing. So when I do it, it's just like this before, like you talked about earlier, like it's just coming in natural.
It felt good. I mean, it gave me my confidence shot up. I think you should join in. You do a really good job of replying back to messages, and you're really fast to help out other people with like coaching and their swings. You're a pretty good coach.
Hitting improved, touching improved, velocity went up, speed went up, everything in general went up. Before joining, I tracked my 60 time and I was running a 8.22, and then after a while, I did a showcase, and then I ran a 7.08.
What do you think leading cause for that? That's crazy jump.
Probably mobility and probably the exercises that you have in your academy that allow for growth in those little tiny muscles that people forget about.
I could tell I was hitting the ball a little bit harder, and then it got better and better and better, and then my speed picked up with the sprinting training and all that, and I was just getting a lot better. But before that, it was not super good. I've definitely picked up on my hitting velo. Before I joined the program, my velo was 72 off the bat, and at this showcase, I hit 80.
That's insane, dude.
No, so when I first saw your program, you were talking about how to get to college and how to get D1 and get recruited and all this, and that had me super interested because I'm trying to go D1 and everything, try to get a scholarship and all this, and your program definitely talks about it and helps you walk through it and get you started. Honestly, I would say like the program definitely helped me a lot. Helped me work through some things, get my visualization for games and all that, just get me prepared.
Obviously, like, my program's remote. Like, have you had any trouble by doing the work that I provide you?
Not at all. It's right in front of you. You know, so it's super easy to get. Search it up, find it, and start working.
Can give him guidance and he can always ask questions to you. I could see how he became more confident after talking to you every time. You are always there when he needs. I think it's really important to know or be told from someone professional like you.
Which was a completely new experience for us. I think we were skeptical. We dove into some of the content. We realized how good it was and the quality of it. The way that you kind of worked with him and you set expectations for him. It was like, hey, these are the things I'm expecting from you. And that was a big part of why we enjoyed the program as well.
The program has made me like a little eagerness to pick up